There we
Okay.
go.
It says
There
we're
we
live
go.
now, right?
Yes, you're
Awesome,
live.
awesome. Okay, cool. Hello. I did prepare something for today's what I guess it's like the second or third inaugural stream for Band of Bards, but I still don't know how to connect audio through video, so it's going to be better because I'm going to live dub this one. So this is the new intro for the Band of Bards stream, as pitched by me. I haven't told Tim or Chris or shown them any of this, so it's going to be fun. All right, here we go. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. Da da. Beep buppily puppy beep buppily puppy beep buppily puppy beep buppily puppy beep ba. Beep buppily puppy beep buppily puppy beep buppily puppy beep ba.
Going for
Beep
it.
buppily puppy beep buppily puppy beep buppily puppy beep ba. Beep buppily puppy beep buppily puppy beep buppily puppy beep buppily puppy buppily puppy buppily puppy puppy buppily. It's the Band of Bards live hour or two. All right, that was it.
Very
That was
nice.
impressive.
Uh,
That was impressive.
as a lifelong asthmatic, that was a marathon. That was
You have
really
some
great.
range.
Thank you.
That's nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Going up
There we go.
octaves.
We'll just reach that. And
All
just, I don't have a prop to pull out, but
Yeah. Well,
yeah, that's all for my SpongeBob fans out there.
that's what that was.
Yeah, it was from SpongeBob. That was like an
Ah.
early SpongeBob one.
Mm.
Yeah. All right,
Well-
take it away.
Yeah, thanks to everybody who's shown up or who will show up or watch recorded. We've done a kind of a test run of the live streaming before. So plan is to start doing regularly scheduled live streams every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So you can come and check us out. Ryan and I will be flip-flopping hosting duties going forward. Probably working some other guest hosts here and there for other bards who are interested. But whole purpose here, we're just hanging out. We want to do some fan engagement, give a little bit of a platform for some of the bards to come and talk about what they're doing, or just do a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe have some live drawing in the future, just have creators on to talk about their process, and in general, just hang out, have a chat. Enjoy a good like Friday evening happy hour.
You do not
I
want
am
me drinking, man.
no, I am imbibing in which isn't too common, but
I'm gonna
gonna
guess
have
you can hold your liquor though.
yeah. So if you choose to imbibe, anybody's more than welcome. If that's not, if you don't like alcohol, adult beverages, if you are a teetotaler, perfectly fine, and I support you in your sobriety. But hey, this it's the end of the week. We've all deserved a little bit of a relaxation, and however you choose to tip one back or light one up, let's have some fun. So, cheers.
I like that. Cheers. I got iced coffee, which probably explains
Whatever you
the
like,
high
man.
pitch.
I had a pack of
Water.
M&Ms I could cheers with, but I ate it all.
Hey,
Hardcore, at least. Hardcore.
chocolate probably
I
should be
just-
considered a drug. Way more addictive than alcohol, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm no, I'm not immune to chocolate addiction. I went to already off topic and way veering off course, but I went
Let's do
to Co-Ed Candies. It's like a really well-known, long-time small chocolate shop in South Buffalo yesterday, and I bought way too much stuff.
Those little chocolate shops are the best, though. They've got these cute displays, and how can you resist it? They're just
Yeah, it's
sitting there
like-
under the glass case looking at you.
Yeah, it's in the Irish heritage area of South Buffalo. So like
Cool.
the road signs are in English, and then there's other road signs that are like white with black lettering that it's all in Gaelic.
Ooh,
Yeah,
nice.
so like it's cool to be multicultural and celebrate your culture when it's like a European thing, but right. But whenever it strays from that deviation, it's like an immediate evil. At least the local Republicans would have you think so.
Well, I was very shocked culture-wise, also involving chocolate. I've been driving around recently a lot, and just road tripping and stuff. And so I went through the Smoky Mountains and stayed, and I did not expect like a tiny little Vegas to be in the middle of the Smoky Mountains, basically. Like it's all neon. There's like a Jimmy Buffett, like Margaritaville
Oh
resort
yeah.
and stuff. Yeah, and everything's neon. And I walked around and it was all just chocolate shops. Which was I was
What
just
else
not
is there to do
expecting.
in the mountains?
Yeah, buy chocolate and go. There's a TGI Fridays. That's not something I would expect to say about the Smoky Mountains. Yeah, but I did get some good chocolate covered strawberries there. But yeah, you never know. You never know where you're gonna run into a good chocolatier. That's the
What's your
good.
favorite candy?
Oh snap! Twizzlers.
You're
Twizzlers.
kidding, really? I've never
Yeah.
had anyone say that before.
Yeah. I guess I was always one of those hyperactive kids that wanted to do something with everything they had to interact
Did you
with.
use it as a straw?
I use it as a straw all the time,
It's
constantly.
classic.
Yeah. So like the Twizzler like in a Coke can, that's like I thought that was like sipping a martini as like a big girl or something.
Some classy
That's
shit.
that's high class. Yeah. That's,
Yeah.
that's pinky up stuff when you have the Twizzler in your Coke, you know. But you know, it's just when it makes the experience more fun, you know. Maybe I have to go back to the super. You ever see the super long Twizzlers, the ones that are like this long?
Oh, actually, you know what? Yeah, I have. The ropes.
Not as good of a straw, I'll tell you that. But
I mean, you could coil it around your head and then like down into the. I feel like you need to, at some point when we're live streaming like this, you need to have the Twizzler and the Coke can
yes,
for
Yeah.
your nightly beverage.
that's for our 5 watchers out there. That's a hint to a semi Twizzlers. If Twizzlers Incorporated
candy.
is one of the 5 viewers right now, I will rep your brand, obviously.
What about you, Tim? Do you drink Coke with Twizzler straws?
I don't think I've ever done that. But you know, I'll throw like one of those big, solid, like hard candy type things. That's just like the big stick. I'll throw that in there.
Nice.
But
Oh,
yeah,
like
I
the,
don't drink a whole lot of pop. Like I can't stand the full sugar anymore. I just can't do it.
I have to have it because I hate coffee. Otherwise, I
I
don't
ha-
stay awake.
I can only drink like 0 sugar sodas anymore. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sorry.
I got old. But it's weird because then like give me all the ice cream in the world.
Oh God, yes.
So have you tried the new Coke Zero? Is it really that different?
I have. And,
Game
you know,
changer?
whatever. I go back and forth between wanting Pepsi or Coke. So, but I've been having
Coke is better.
more 7-Up 0 sugars and like A&W root beer 0 sugars. Yeah. Good for
We have a comment that says, "As a Brit, I have no idea
Oh,
what a
man.
Twizzler is." I would guess it's probably something called like a jammy twister or a
It's kind of like licorice, isn't it? But it's
Yeah.
red.
Yeah, it's a red licorice.
yeah, it's just red. Yeah, it's red licorice. I probably should have said that first instead of insulting
I don't know.
British people.
Yeah.
I think that might be my friend James. If it's not, I feel really
Let's see
bad
here.
about just going at him. Let's see.
I recently learned about
it
a
is
really
James. Hi,
weird Scottish soda. It's like, gosh, I forget the name of it, but it's supposed to taste citrusy and gingery,
Okay.
which seems odd. If yeah, Iron Brew. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So now I'm curious about it, but apparently it's very much an acquired taste.
I feel
So
like
I googled what do you call Twizzlers in England, and
Yeah.
the packaging's the same. They're Twizzlers.
yeah. Oh, so they're out there.
They're out there.
You know what I would probably guess too is that they probably have some cool flavors. Brit like
I
being
bet
over
you.
in the UK, just trying Kit Kats. And
I
like
think
they
I
have
saw blue ones once.
like a dozen different kind of Kit Kats. Yeah, it's awesome. We're so lame over here with our normal milk chocolate.
I know. You have to get the
I'm here
Cadbury
to
stuff.
drop the link.
I dropped the link for so they can go see what Twizzlers are in the UK.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Because that's immediately what we should be promoting. Why anybody takes me seriously, I don't know.
Yeah. Let's promote something then. What would you like to promote first, Tim?
I would like
one
to
of the
put Elyse on
co-publishers of
spot
Band Bar.
and see what she wants to talk about with the anthology she's curating. Like,
I'm sorry, what? I missed that.
The your anthology that you're curating,
Oh,
I haven't like said too much about because that's your baby, so that's
very much so.
fully within your own rights to divulge as much or as little about that as you'd like. But I want to give you a platform to talk about it right now, and I'm gonna step
Thank
up
you.
because I want to turn
Yes.
my lights up.
Well, let's see. I've been kind of mysterious about it, but I'll tell you about the theme. So I got the idea to get an anthology together that's a hybrid of prose and comics. So there would be straight prose, comics, and then illustrated prose. And I wanted it to be solely female creators because the theme is the dark side of purity. We wanted to show how women really feel about society's obsession with virginity and chastity. And that's the first time I'm letting anyone outside the group know about the theme. So,
Scoop. Oh
yeah,
my god.
scoop.
Heard it here first. Look at that. Our
Yeah.
very first live stream.
So we've got a
Amazing.
lot of people on board. I've got all of the prose slots filled. I just got an influx of um, poets, a lot of them from Quill and Crow, including the owner of Quill and Crow, Cassandra Thompson. And then let's see, Lynn's is going to be on it. Robin will be there. Who else do you know? I don't know if you know anyone else that's on there,
I know very
but
few people. In truth,
I,
truth be told.
yeah. I mean, from my perspective, all you, I think, have shared so far is just that list of creators, right, Elise? You tweeted out,
yes,
like,
yes.
I'm working on a
So
project, and this is it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And it,
There's four comic artists and then one traditional artist. So our comic artists are going to be Danny because I drag her everywhere, Miranda because I kind of drag her everywhere too. Foul Hound will be involved. I'm psyched. And Julia Lally will be um, with us as well. And then Amanda Stockton is a painter. And she's going to do a mixed media piece for it. So I'm very excited to see. Some of the stories have already been turned into me, and they're just like, these women owe me some socks because they're just knocking them right off. um,
I dropped a
yeah.
link to the tweet Ryan mentioned, so if anybody's curious and wants to see that,
yeah.
definitely go
Just
check out. There's some super impressive
a,
talent on it
a
already.
killer lineup.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
killer lineup.
Every time I got, every time I got, I, actually, of all the women I contacted, only one turned it down. So all those women I contacted,
Mhm.
it's like 30 women, and they're all immediately, yes, I would love to be involved in this, which
That's
really
awesome.
speaks to how important the theme is.
That and that whole community there. That's not just comics either, right? That's some just straight lit community as well.
Yes, yes,
Right?
and I very much enjoy both writing formats, and blending the two communities is a big thing for me. Um, yeah, so every single woman that's come on this project, I've just been like, yes, oh yes, yes, I got her. So, and they've all been wonderful to work with so far. We've got a Discord that we all chat on, and we share resources and stories and all sorts of things. It's very nice.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, that
Uh,
is amazing. Like you are just absolutely kicking ass with that. It's really cool to see it. Like when every time I open up an email from you, it's so exciting to read what you're telling me. Like it's a lot.
It's also long-winded.
But yeah, I don't mind the long emails because I never send a short email. It like if I send a 2 sentence email, it's like 1 in 1,000. So
Right? It's like when you're mad, I don't want to talk to you.
pretty much like if you get a short email from me,
Start
it's
quaking in my
usually a
boots.
bad thing, right? Unless it's just like I think I sent something maybe to Ryan or somebody else a couple days ago that it was a couple of sentences and it was just like that's really all that needed to be said right now.
Yeah. I sent him my magnum opus pitch, something I've been working on forever, and he just said, "Looks cool." So
Yeah.
fingers crossed, y'all. No, but like,
Yeah.
for real, if you're watching right now, check out that tweet and like get your hair blown back by that lineup. I like when I saw it, I imagined like the Lion King remake lineup where it was just like name,
all the big names.
It's like, yeah, it's awesome. I think so. Is this a Band of Bards project or a Band of Bards joint?
I hope so. We will see. I think that yes, but I mean nothing is. We're still talking. I don't know. Tim answered that.
I don't know anything. Sorry.
Should I answer that?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's like initial stages of talking right now, mostly just to kind of figure out like more finer details, like the scope, and if we're going to do like a co-publishing, define the different individual roles and responsibilities. So like that's where it's at right now. We definitely are super interested, and as long as we can make it happen, we want to do it. So it's just a matter right now of like,
it's got a big ass.
Yeah, it's like coordinating logistics and making sure that like the people who are, interested and wanting to do it, just have like the practical capacity and capabilities. So hopefully some more to follow on that in the next handful of months.
It's
cool.
Definitely a passion project for me. It's a subject that I've been thinking about and writing about for, gosh, I've been talking to women about this for over a decade. And it's just so prevalent, this shame that women carry around with them because of this. And it I think needs to be talked about more. So I initially, I wrote a collection of short stories around this theme, but then I had to split it up, and that fell through. And I'm glad it did, because then I was thinking, I still want to work with this theme, but I also really want to curate an anthology. And I'd like to bring more women's voices to this instead of just mine. So that's how I got started with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that says so much to the, like you said, how important it is. Cause like there's the old adage of like, write the thing that you've always wanted to read. Right. And then like, it's so important to you that you're like, no, not just me. Like we all need to be writing about this. Like this needs to be a genre. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's really awesome. I'm so excited for it.
Not enough out there about it. Like, at all. Yeah. There's a few nonfiction books that I've read, but
I don't know. I mean, I went to a Catholic university. There was lots to be said about purity.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the bad aspects.
Maybe seeing the opposite side of that.
There's plenty on the other side, and that's the problem.
I know. I mean, the priest told me all I knew, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what is like? You're right. I went to a Catholic Franciscan universities, and Franciscans are recognized as being kind of like the hippies of the church. Like, so.
Yep, I was raised.
I'll give them the credit. Like, you definitely saw a lot more of like an honest and interpretation, or like a lot of the Franciscans, the priests and the brothers would, and the sisters, they would flat out, they would very much would buck the conventional thinking or the conservative side of the church. And, I'm no longer Catholic, so I'm not like trying to speak up for them or anything, but it's neat because you definitely have a lot of those different perspectives that a lot of times just, you don't see them. They get erased. They don't shout loud enough, so they don't, or they're not unhinged and crazy, so they're not getting all the airtime like Alex Jones.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, and again, that goes right to the heart of what we're trying to do with Band of Bards, right? There's voices that absolutely don't just deserve, but need to be heard. And there simply needs to be more of a platform for those voices. And, guys like me can just create that platform and stand the fuck aside.
Right. And that's why you guys are my comfy spot on the couch for publishing.
I love that.
Yeah.
So,
I was trying to decide when humanity first got obsessed with chastity. And I
mm,
decided that it must have been, I was talking with Damon Barrett Rowe, one of the poets on the team,
Mhm.
and she's actually going to write a comic too. Um, I decided that it must have been when we switched from traveling to land ownership and became a more agrarian society, because then you had to worry about passing the land down and primogeniture and all that.
hmm
And it would have made more sense to have matrilineal primogeniture
hmm
because you can be sure that the child came out of that woman. But they, yeah, that's my theory.
I mean, there's certainly like agrarian societies that were dominated by women. Like most of the
There's a few.
indigenous tribes around us in New York
Hmm.
were, they're matrilineal. They
Hmm.
The women governed them. There were guys that were figureheads in times of war. Guys kind of took over, but generally speaking, the women of the tribe were the ones who governed, and you know, it's always been interesting to me to like be in this area and growing up around here and getting exposed to that at an early age about the contrast of typical American society and then like the way the
Yeah.
Seneca tribe would historically be run, and it, you really get to see that a lot of things went astray, and the way like patriarchy of Europe just transferred and spread, and
Dominated.
certainly
Yep.
isn't exclusive to Europe, but I think for Americans, that's typically what you see more firsthand, right? Hey, Dan.
Wave back. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
you
yeah.
mentioned your magnum opus, Ryan.
Mm.
Can you tell us anything about it?
Um, yeah, no, I could just do a wild brief pitch on it. I didn't actually. It's not actually my magnum opus thing, but I did actually send a pitch not too long ago. And it's actually the comic that when I'm going to conventions and stuff like that. I'll be at C2E2 next week if anybody's going. Um, I've been giving out like this 11 pager that I did with Rada Kalula, who did art, letters, colors, like Powerhouse. And he's actually pitching something for PitMad right now if you want to go check him out. But it is a reboot kind of pitch on the Alice in Wonderland concept.
Hmm.
So long story version of it is I took a master class with Jonathan Hickman, the old head of X, like master world builder, rebooter, all that kind of stuff. And he said that the difference between good reboots and bad reboots are good reboots actually try to fix something, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, what are you trying to fix? And as I was taking this masterclass, I was also finishing my college, my final year of college while in lockdown. And I had to
Fun
make like
thing.
a final end cap project. And it had to remix a pre-established work. They didn't want me to create something wholly original. So I like went back to this concept I've been working on since like middle school or so. And it was like my excuse to try to throw in all these different genres and like types of stories and public figures and stuff into like one world. That was my thing, is like I wanted to try to pack as much as I could in, but I could never like figure out the actual name of it, the world of it. And then I went back to it for this project and I looked at it and I went, oh my god, it's Wonderland. I made this world and it's Wonderland. It's different than like Wonderland, but it actually has, I think, a beating heart to it. Like my problem with Alice in Wonderland reboots or reskins or whatever reimaginings is that it's usually just like a coat of paint for the environment. It's still like big mushrooms and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
Even Tim Burton like didn't change the environment too much of it. It's just kind of like the color grading. So I was like, I want to make Wonderland a character. And so this whole pitch is kind of basing, giving an actual like, high concept reasoning why Wonderland exists, why all these different kind of people and creatures and time zones all kind of coexist at the same time. And it's a way for me to also team up with as many artists as I could, and sort of do like a never ending kind of like marathon race with different genres and ideas and stuff like that. So it kind of uses the Mad Hatter as a way to like switch aesthetics and art styles and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a big idea kind of thing. So I did an 11 pager with it. And I have some other kind of materials that I wrote with it, but I'm just kind of shopping it around, seeing if anyone has any interest. I don't own Alice in Wonderland, so it's something where I'm just kind of like, this is something I would love to play with,
Yeah. So you would want it to be a series then?
I mean, that's one of the things to get, if you want to get inside my brain. With comics, when I work on comic projects, I use something that I have termed accordion storytelling. So like literally the instrument, the accordion. So I know I'm early to the comics game. So I want to show my technical prowess, so I can play the keys. And so if I have to do a 4-pager or an 8-pager or a 1-pager, I can do that and show that. But if someone likes my pitch, they want to see more of it. They want to see how much I can add storytelling minutia to it, some like feeling to it. I could, kind of hold those notes out. So everything I kind of pitch is based around that idea. So I wrote this Alice in Wonderland thing as a 10-pager, kind of just, it can stand on its own. It does. But then it could also stretch into a whole single issue with a aesthetic switch in the middle, or it could stretch out to a graphic novel or an ongoing or whatever it needs to be. And so, a lot of my projects, most of them are kind of planned out like that. The few that I don't are when I go and I try to write a short story, and I have the page cap in mind already, and that's all based on like page turns. That's how I write that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'd imagine you could have some pretty psychedelic art for that then, huh?
Yeah, and that's my thing is I want to see what anyone would be able to do with it. Yeah. There's when I was at the if I have it, I'm not gonna I'll grab it in like a half second. But okay. Sorry, the coffee's hitting for sure. But I went to Wizard World Chicago in October, and it was my first time tabling, and I was giving away copies of that comic, and Tone Rodriguez, who is the layout artist for Stray Dogs, I think Eisner at least nominated, should be Eisner winning. I don't know if it actually is, but it is like the Don Bluth kind of murder mystery comic starring cute animated animals. And so I was very, very late one day being myself. And apparently Tone sat down and read through it. And as he was doing it, he sketched out a version of the character that I'm going to grab right now.
Nice.
It's right here. Oh.
Whoa. He just sat down and sketched that?
So he just sketched that and no biggie.
Gosh, artists are amazing.
So that's the Hatter. As you can note, he has no hat because in the first 10 pages he does not. Because putting the hat on,
I can see why he gets one.
Yeah.
That's a hairdo.
So funny enough, when I described the character design to Rada, I sent him Angelica's doll from Rugrats. The name escapes me right now, but she looks like she was thrown into the microwave, right? And so that's what I kind of said.
Backwards.
Like, this whole guy kind of got Cynthia. Thank you so much. It's Cynthia. Cynthia the doll. And so Tone did that, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I sent it to Rada, and he was very honest in it. It was amazing. He was like, I've never seen another artist draw one of my character designs. And I was like, oh man, I've never seen another artist do more than one character design of mine either. And so it was like really, really cool. So I hope it was one of many, and I hope I get to see tons and tons of artists draw those characters, because that's kind of how I devised that project when I really knew I wanted it to be a comic. It was like, how many different artists or how many different collaborators can I play with? Because that's comics, to me. If I'm going to write them, I want to try to make as many different ones with as many different people as I can. Cool people only, though. Thanks for letting me rant. What are
When
you
you
working
get some
on?
caffeine in you, I know not
Yeah,
to stand the
interesting.
hell away.
let me level out really quick.
Yeah. Drink water.
Let me get a breather really quick. Yeah, but you could. I'm very passionate about this stuff. This happens without the coffee. I'm battling a cold right now too, so it might be cold medicine that's just helping me hit the gas. I'm not going to say anything offensive, Tim. I'm not going to be your Roseanne Barr. I promise. We're going to be good. Yeah, but Elyse, not to put you on the spot, there's
Go ahead.
a horror anthology out there right now that I've heard.
Okay,
That
horror or
Vanguard.
whore?
Horror. Sorry,
Okay.
horror anthology. I think
because there are horror anthologies too.
true. Horror. Yeah.
Mhm.
Called. Okay, it's Through the Static, right?
From the static.
From the
Sounds
static.
pretty fucking stupid.
I was so close. Have you thought about pitching? Have you pitched anything to that yet, Elyse?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
And I don't know how much I'm supposed to say about it, but it is kind of a little prequel to another project that Tim might want to talk about because he kind of perked up a second there.
Ooh. We love prequels. Yeah, I mean, this is something
yeah,
we're
man.
like. Oh, go ahead.
I told you guys, like, this week has been brutal. Just, you can talk whatever you want. No
Okay, I don't know how
spoilers,
much I want.
obviously.
It's
but
called Haunts
I
for
mean,
Hire.
you know your story and what the spoilers are way better than I do.
Okay, I can share basic
Yeah.
concepts. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called Haunts for Hire, and it's about a shop that sells cursed and haunted objects, and you can buy them to, do whatever you want. Take revenge on your enemies, haunt your ex, whatever. So this one is each it's kind of like a collection of shorts in my mind where it centers around a haunted object each time. This one's a harpoon, a whaler's harpoon. And Miranda is doing the art for it because she loves anything to do with water. So I told her about it, and she was just like, "Yes." Yeah,
Right
Marie
on.
Laveau might be involved,
Very cool.
not in this one, but later as a teaser.
I love that. I mean, sorry if I was making you reveal more than you wanted to. I think that's the best thing about comics, though, too, is like a project is never really dead, or it can change definitely as it jumps around. I think you see that a lot with like people going from superhero like mainstream comics back to creator owned. You
Yeah.
kind of see people like, oh, that's something you were holding on to. Like this is totally your Daredevil story that you just rewrote or something like that. But I
Did
think
you
it's
pitch to From the Static?
I did. I actually
Okay, and now
I sent
it's
it
your
just
turn.
today.
Yeah.
Now it is my turn. Yeah.
You did?
I previously said, I like to reboot and repitch stuff. I started like an improv, so it kind of all starts from there. But the idea was I realized that Frankenstein and Pinocchio have pretty much the same first act. A sad dude wants to make life and he can't. And so this blue being, either lightning or a fairy, brings this thing to life. And from there, it goes in two totally different directions. And the
Okay.
idea is like, if they're going in those two different directions and people don't know which one it's going, I could go a third direction where definitely nobody is expecting. And so I'm writing it for Casey Quevedo, who was the first artist I actually worked with as like, I guess when I was making my professional push, we did a short story together called Trains. And Casey has like really, really leveled up. And he was like really good then. And he did Margaret versus the Occupation, which was just on Kickstarter and was phenomenal. And so I was like, hey, we did something really, really sweet a couple years ago, and then you just did this really dark kind of war story. Let's kind of put them together. Let's do kind of a, I hate to use it, Burton-esque, right? Kind of sweet but
It's an
spooky kind of
aesthetic.
story with that. Yeah. And so we're gonna, throw some curveballs and stuff like that, and play around with the conventions of both stories. But I think it's kind of exciting to kind of play with those kind of two walls against and see how many kind of cool flips I could do running between them. That was a weird metaphor, but like, you know,
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
yeah. But I'm very excited to see what like From the Static even becomes, even if I make it in or not. Tim is dropping all the links right now. It's a very simple form. I think I might have like overwritten and over prepared for it, and it was like, I think it's 300 words or less for your plot, right, Tim? And it's
Yeah.
it gives you like a very, it's not super committal. If you have some work to like show, it's a Google form, which I love,
Yep.
so
Now, Tim, I saw
for it.
you mention that you're getting a lot of really impressive submissions, and it's going to be tough to narrow it down. How many have you gotten so far?
Ooh, we're over 50 already.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is 300 words or less for the plot summary. And then you can attach, in the concept of work section, you can write a little bit, but you can attach. Some folks have had like a completed comic, all just kind of like there that they've submitted to other places, and was ready to go. Some folks have, the script pretty much done, and a little bit of sample art or like their artist's portfolio. Add as much or as little as you want. Obviously, the more info you're gonna give us, probably like the better judgment we can make. I'm not gonna say it's necessarily like more is better or more is stronger of a pitch, but it's I'm blown away already about how much has come in, who's been submitting to us, because I'm sitting there scratching my head. I'm like, what the hell did we do that like enough people have been convinced that we're something to send them to? But I mean, that's just
Your
me.
ethos
I you know I
and the
was
way you
thinking about
interact
this
with
earlier in the
everyone and
week, and that like
personally.
I need to stop with so
What
much
you
of the
did.
self doubt, or at least voicing so much of it, because like I have to like start thinking more of like not just my own internal kind of image or perception of myself, but the fact that like other people are at this point are starting to see me as like a comics publisher, and yeah,
Because you are.
I know, I
You
know.
are
Right?
a
Like
comic
it's
That's all
funny
we've ever
to
known you as.
juxtapose that against like folks who would talk about themselves as not not being like a comics writer or a comic artist yet because they don't have anything published or this or that, and like how if
An
I was talking to
aspiring
somebody and they
artist,
said
yeah.
that, I would be like, if you're writing it or if you're drawing them, you are a comics writer, you are a comics artist. So like, you don't need that external validation of being published to make you a comics writer, a comics creator, or anything. So I guess I should probably take some of my own medicine and realize that I am a comics publisher.
Yeah. You've got 2 funded successful
Yeah.
Kickstarters under your belt already.
Yeah.
It's
What
pretty
are
impressive.
they? What are those successful Kickstarters?
Final Gamble. From
Bunny!
yes. Gosh, Robin's series is just mind-boggling, and the
The
level of detail
world's in that woman's head. I
Oh
swear to
gosh,
goodness.
oh gosh, Jorge's art, and we're already starting to see some of the like thumbnails and outlines for issue 2.
Nice.
Harry's coloring blows me
Oh,
away,
well, machine.
so good. And George Gant doing the lettering. Who George just wrapped up a successful Kickstarter of his own for Toddlerhood, which is so good.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, so good. I'm excited to get that one. Fantastic team, and it was like a no-brainer to go ahead and make that. So I'm glad that we were able to be successful in our part for that team. And yes, it needs to be lettered, and then a little bit of comic design in terms of just like the book design needs to be done, and that'll be off to the printers. So
Cannot wait to have that on my shelf.
yeah, I was supposed to send out a Kickstarter update on that this weekend. We'll do it tomorrow. Same thing with Prospects. We should have another update out this week. Prospects was cool because like Max had already done 2 issues on his own, a few years back, and he had already had like issue number 3 pretty much paid for and the art done when he brought them to us. So
Stepping stones.
yeah, I mean, it was super helpful, I guess, to be able to also have something with like 3 issues, which is kind of like an entire story arc out of that 9-issue series, already done.
Yeah.
Certainly, like when you're trying to approach a retailer, a lot of the feedback you get from the retailers is, we're more into trades, not so much into floppies, or at least want to have something that is like an entire story arc and not just like a, especially if you're going through Kickstarter, you're not just going to have this one issue and then everybody's going to be left hanging and it won't be finished. So being able to come with an entire story arc and, basically one trilogy out of 3 trilogies that will make up that whole series. Because I can't go any amount of time without a Star Wars reference. That's awesome. Gene Franco's artwork is so cool, especially like for the 90s kids, because if you loved watching things like Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff Girls, the artwork in that, just like love it. The absurdist humor, like you look at Prospects initially and you see that kind of artwork and you think it might be like super cartoonish or kind of goofy, but the story itself gets super deep. Like there's so many different layers to that, and it's very subtle. And you just have to kind of like observe it. Yeah, it's dark. It's kind of like absurdist. Army of Darkness is definitely something where, like, if you like those Bruce Campbell movies, you'll like this. Shaun of the Dead was another comparable title we threw out there because it's not the same, but even more so, like if you come from an economically depressed area, especially like all of us who like grew up or live around the Great Lakes and the Rust Belt and stuff, but like that hits home, and it makes sense because Max is from Pittsburgh, so that probably translated really well to a publisher that's based in Buffalo. I don't know if that would have clicked so much with too many other publishers. So yeah, like if you like depressing shit and just growing up in poverty, I guess we're the guys to come to.
And this is a comedy, correct? Yeah, this is Prospects is.
Yeah,
that's the publisher.
No, yeah, it's
depressing shit.
I know, right?
That's on the blurb on the back.
Pretty much.
I think
there's a lot of depressing shit.
Band of Bards will depress the fuck out of you. There's a lot of like genuinely heartwarming stuff, and then there's like a little bit of a love story too, because Colin, the main character, is a little bit of that lovable loser. Obviously, since he hasn't been picked up for one of the competing armies of zombies and cyborgs, he's absolutely average at best, but really he's a little bit below average. That right there is probably the quirky thing that I liked so much about it, because like if you show any potential at all, if you have talents in anything, if you're intelligent, you're going to be scooped up and drafted into like an army of the undead, basically. And that kind of like twisted idea of what to aspire to, again, clicked in our heads. People who grew up in a steel town and were preached to go to college, or you're going to be a failure and you need to get out of this town. Yep. But then at the same time, our dads were always like, all these goddamn college kids and college guys coming in and stealing our jobs and shipping our jobs overseas. So it's like, do you want me to be one of those guys, or do you want me what am I supposed to do? so much conflict growing up. Yeah, I mean that, and the really cool thing. Again, there's so many layers to the story. Right? You also deal with like toxic stands, and
Hmm.
like it's really applicable to like our addictions to social media and how social media can be used to manipulate a population,
Yep.
and the way that nobody has ever seen the two mad scientists who are pretty much running the town, but everybody kind of like has tribally
Hi, Max.
latched on. Hey, Max.
Hmm.
Hey, Max. You can point out all the things I'm saying wrong. But people latch onto these, and you can see it with like all the d bags that love Elon Musk, in spite of any stupid thing that
Oh,
guy
I know.
does. You
God.
know,
His new haircut.
like right. I cannot do an elevator pitch. I'm way too long winded. Um,
If you,
You
I'll
have to
say,
block the elevator door.
yeah, I'll say just like tight, uh, is that there's like a very select type of comics that I think have like a different sort of consistency in their art style. Like I think Stray Dogs is another one like that, where you're like, oh my gosh, the whole book isn't going to look like this, right? I call them cover comics. Human Target that just came out is one of those where you look at the cover, who's by the interior artist, and you're like, oh, this is elevated. This is your cover work, right? And then you flip through it and you go, oh no, it's like this the whole way through. Prospects is one of those. I think Final Gamble is also one of those. But I think
Final
if you're looking
Gamble
for
has a
something that great,
very specific aesthetic to it and
yeah,
feel,
Hmm.
and I mean, there's no way you can read through a story arc of Final Gamble and not just be completely creeped out, but also so amazingly intrigued by it. Like, because by the end of each issue, right, you're just like, what the hell is this Mercury Society thing all about? And just how depraved are these people? And really, like, the answer is they're rich people, like, so ungodly rich that they live in a completely different reality from the rest of
there's no
us.
bottom. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, the people that they're making fight for their entertainment, kill each other for their entertainment. It's a little bit of a take on like the old gladiatorial stuff in ancient Rome,
Hmm.
but like to an even more completely sinister way because they have like basically a loan shark operation that captures these people.
Hmm.
And you know, Jasmeet being an MMA fighter, he's thrown into the ring and has to fight. Danny being a scrawny wimp, he's thrown into the other group that just has to gamble on all the fights that their friends are in. And they have no money. So they have to use equivalent body parts to dollar figures to amass $100 million to win their freedom. Like, there's no way you're going to get out of this. So you get,
Hmm.
eventually, those people get desperate, seeing that they're racking up maybe like a few $1,000 for winning their bets. And they realize that they're going to spend like eternity to win $100 million and get free again. So eventually you start to bet, riskier things to get more money, like your eyeballs or a limb, or your
Yeah.
life. And like it's so sadistic and dark, and I love it
Hmm.
because I'm a fucked up guy.
Yeah.
Very
I
thought
talk too
provoking.
much.
Well, the writer of Final Gamble, Robin, actually said on Twitter or asked Elyse. It was the only question we
Oh
got.
yeah.
But what's the first serious comic book that you wrote or comic story? Is that it,
I
or
think
just story?
the first serious writing you ever did.
That was I totally misread that. I'm so sorry, Robin. Oh my God. Okay, go ahead.
Me first?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't even say your name, Elyse. Go ahead. Sorry. You
It's
first.
okay.
Do you
I think we
have an
should all
answer?
have to answer it though.
Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I
let's
gotta answer
see.
that.
First serious piece of writing I ever did.
There was only
It
one.
depends on like
That's why I
serious
write
by
it.
other people's standards or serious by mine. Because like I used to write these long epic ballad poems when I was in high school and I would illustrate them and like they had the couplets and things and they would go on and on for pages and I was super serious about that. Um I think the first thing I ever got published was something in a school newspaper. And it was one of those. So that's like not that serious, I guess. Okay.
No, that's serious. I think it's
Yeah.
like it's however you want to take the question, right? It's like I think it's almost like what did you take seriously? You know
Hmm.
what I mean? What was
Okay,
serious to
I
you?
have an
Yeah.
answer now. Okay, so I didn't write for like 10 years after college, and then I just started writing again. And the first story I wrote was called Palette's Colors, and it's in Outcast Press's anthology, In Filth It Shall Be Found. It's transgressive fiction. And yeah, that would be my first serious writing because it actually got published and it was the first thing I wrote after a very long hiatus.
It's awesome. That's so
What
awesome.
about you guys?
Tim?
Age before beauty, I guess. Um, let's see. I can remember writing like the first stories I had to write as a student. I think it was like around fifth grade, and we had to write like a short story. And that's the first thing like I can assignment wise I can remember. I just remember it being like an epilogue basically to a book I had done a book report on, and I had it was like old west kind of a book, and there was a love story into it that since it was like for younger kids like preteen basically like there wasn't anything like super deep or complex, but I felt like that was kind of like unresolved, and I wrote an epilogue to that where the woman protagonist was riding along horseback with the male protagonist, and she proposed to him. And I remember like that being like a big issue when I had to read it in class in Catholic school and stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that is a
Good for
weird
you.
memory, but that like stuck in my head. And like all I wanted, I was like what fifth grade? What like you're 11, 12? I don't know.
I try not
Like
to
you don't
remember.
really understand those concepts, right? Yeah, I was just writing something that I wanted to be like a little bit different,
Yeah.
and then like why is everybody mad? I think my dad yelled at me. Yeah.
Seriously? You
Oh,
got
yeah.
yelled at for that?
Oh,
Oh my God.
yeah.
Yeah, and there
Um,
comes the punk attitude of Band of Bards, right?
Exactly. That's when it
Always based in
started
resistance.
rocking the boat.
just for the sake of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I I like it wasn't any shock that like as I started to develop a little bit of agency and matured that like the punk scene is where I found my group, I guess.
Mm.
Right
So,
on, right on.
mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, I think I got mine now. So I started making comics when I was in third grade. Um, but I don't think I was taking it seriously until, well, I made comics in third grade and then started making graphic novels in fourth grade, which I actually have a couple of them, but I
Okay,
won't drag
show
out.
us. No, show us a page. You have to now.
Okay.
Little
I got more than
little
one.
Ryan's like,
You've got
I'm
it
not a
right there.
fucking
I
Frank
mean, come
Miller.
on.
So, well, I did it. So this just proves the warranted stigma that graphic novels created, that I had to fill one of these for it
Oh
to be
hell yeah.
finished. But they're
Oh,
only like single-sided ones. I think this is a collection. It's really, really, really derivative of whatever I was watching at the time. Some Avatar: The Last Airbender stuff, some Dragon Ball
Ooh.
Z stuff. But this one was. Here we go. This was book 2. So I don't know where book 1 is. Let's see if you can
hold
see
it
it.
closer.
So this is Super Cigar. And Super Cigar was my debut character, and I started making Super Cigar comics in third grade because I also went to Catholic private school, and my teacher did not like teaching, so she would come into class, and then this is memories I didn't realize I had until later, as are the good ones, of course, where she would come in and just say, everybody, you're going to read all day, like, or dear reading or whatever,
Yes.
individual reading. And so I read a lot. I read a lot of comics that I should not have been reading. Oh, thanks for the spotlight.
Oh, look
But
at me playing around.
I eventually ran out of reading capacity, and so me and my friends would rent out the Where's Waldo books, the super long
Oh
ones,
yeah.
and
Hmm.
so we would be able to draw like in the books without
Oh,
looking like we're
sneaky,
drawing in
sneaky.
books. Yeah. And so we started making comics, and all my friends started creating characters too once I did. And so all these characters on there are ones that my friends created, and I actually bought the rights to. I've always been
What'd you buy it
going.
with, like your milk from lunch or
Yeah,
something?
let me tell. Yeah, it was like $1, or like I think I gave like a bendy stick like pencil topper once to get the rights to like
Pez
the
dispenser or
toxic
something.
turtle. Yeah, that's on there. And that, I mean, that's just something from, I've known I wanted to make comics since I was like 8. And
Nice.
so I've been going to conventions and asking creators, like, what should I know if I want to make comic books? And a lot of them are like, don't get screwed, own your creations, and work with other creators and stuff. And so I took their advice, and then I saw Stan Lee, and I was like, he made a lot more money. And then I learned my lesson down the line, of course. And so these were all shared creations that we all got to make together, and I made, I think, at least 4 graphic novel things or something like that. And so that was my first serious work. But I don't think I ever showed them to anybody else other than the people that I was making the comics with.
That
Who,
sounds like so much
yeah,
fun, though.
yeah, it was how I kept my time, and my friends stopped making comics and became financial advisors and mechanics and stuff like that, and I just
Weak.
couldn't stop. I just didn't stop making comics. Um, yeah, so that was the good end. Shout out to my 4th grade teacher, Mrs. Stryker, who I had the following year, who would let me draw comic books during class. I think we trash talk the bad teachers, but like there are some amazing teachers out there
Yeah.
who let kids read the stuff they want to read. So, Mrs. Stryker, you're not watching this, but thank you for letting me read Watchmen in 4th grade.
That's awesome.
Thanks for not sending me to the principal's office when I had Dark Knight Returns. Yeah.
That's
So,
so
yeah.
much different from my story in school.
It would. I mean, hey, I have the bad stories too. I got
Oh yeah.
freshman year. I had a whole script and sketches ripped in front of me during English
Yeah.
class, but like, it's okay
Oh,
because
sandwiches.
that book's going to be
It's, like,
coming out
triggered.
next year from Band of Bards. So
Snap.
I think it worked out. I think it worked out a little bit. I'm being a little cheap, but yeah. Hey Max, if Max is still in the chat, what was your first serious comic? Let's see if we get a response.
I'm gonna take a look to see who's still.
Yeah. Am I going to be in this?
Max is
Wow.
still there.
He's there.
Max is still there, so I
LOL.
guess that kind of called him out.
LOL.
Hmm.
I guess
And
we could have sent
there's
him
a
the
few
link
other creators
to be on it.
on, so if anybody else wants to drop what they first did, more than welcome.
It must be an epic tale.
Yeah. I need an
In
In
opus.
which case, he needs to just tweet it then.
You know,
Actually, it needs to be an iambic pentameter. Sorry.
that sucks.
No. It has to be assisting.
Oh, it sucks for the person that's put on the spot, because who the hell can still talk in iambic pentameter?
Nope.
This is interesting because, like, oh, stream of thought stopped. No, like all of the live streams kind of have their own. We always ask this question. That might be the cool. We always ask this question for future guests.
Yeah.
You know,
What was your first serious
Well,
writing? Yeah.
what was your
Serious
first?
writing.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
let's get even more basic. What was your first comic? What's the comic that made you love comics? We got time, right?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Death of Superman, because I hate Superman.
Wow.
Yeah, throwing that one down.
Went in hot. Did
So
you?
hot. Like,
How aware of you were? When did you read it, and how aware were you of like the formalistic things they did with that? Because that's the thing I'll always say about Death of Superman is like they literally did a formalist event, which is really cool. That countdown panel thing that they do. Let's see. If
yeah. Yeah, I came in hot like Cyclops' I-beams. Shout out to Gail.
You're just
feel
trying
like
to start stuff, man.
I know, I know. It's like
Love it.
I'm an antagonistic shit. I can't. What can I say? Um, no. My early memories of comics, right? Like they're super foggy because
Hmm.
like that would be like kind of close to 30 years and a dozen concussions ago. So I can remember like some early Captain America issues where like I can kind of remember some of the panels, like where Crossbones throws a knife and it gets stuck in Cap's leg, but it's poisonous, so Cap has to suck the poison out, and you see him like spitting out the poison. Yeah, I guess that kind of like embeds on your 8-year-old brain.
Whoa, that's
But Death,
hardcore.
yeah, right. Death of Superman, though, I can remember it partly because of just the media storm around it, right? It was on CNN that Superman was dying, that DC was going to kill Superman. Like, major, and mid 90s, right? Early mid 90s, cable news wasn't what it is today. CNN was kind of like really the only player in town on that because of, they kind of rode success after the Gulf War. You're welcome. And they were like the cable news network. Like Fox News was in existence, but they were small. Like you didn't have them in most cable packages.
Hmm.
Oh, to go back to then. But it just blew me away being a little kid and seeing like that. They're talking about comics on the news,
Yeah.
and like we didn't have a local comic shop in Dunkirk. We had the old newsstands, right? Like a U.S. News. There was a place called Pete's News down the street that had like smoke bombs that were cool, and we would throw them at each other. And there was like Miss Pac-Man arcade game in there. Just so much fun. So places like that to get comics from, but not really a whole lot. So one day, like my dad came home and he had like a trade paperback of The Death of Superman, and I just devoured it. And it's probably still at their house somewhere. I need to find it.
Yeah.
But like the art in that is fantastic. I mean, like the absolute horror that Doomsday is, and those jagged rocks for bones that he's got, those teeth, just the wild hair. It was terrifying,
Hmm.
and you see the end where he and Superman kill each other, and the panel of like Lois holding him. Like I'll never forget reading that, and like I always liked watching Superman on like Nick at Night. And you had the old
Hmm.
black and white show and all that. I never got too much into like the Reeves movies.
Oh yeah.
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 Right?
On the page.
But
Yeah.
like I always thought that was it Superman 2 where he flies the wrong way around Earth to turn back time so Lois is not dead anymore. Like, I was like that's stupid. This is dumb. But right. And I was also an angry little kid, so I was like, no, let her die.
Mm.
Yeah. Kind of issues.
Please do your little kid voice again.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
Max has a great one right here.
Oh.
Well, first, Funny Figs, who's an amazing artist, said their first published comic was about a gone encrypted. Funny Figs was also in my first published debut in the BoB, which is a anthology put out by Bird's Eye Comics, and they have an amazing, weird, messed up short in there that Funny Figs drew. So check that out. Max said that he got in through the Ultimate line of Marvel. Same. He said Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Millar's approach and how dialogue changed how comics was written. Absolutely. Ultimate Spider-Man was my cup of tea as well. Bebop represent. Ultimate Comics was my stuff too. I think when that graphic novel trade paperback generation just heated up, you couldn't stop it. So I think I started in like volume 6 and went backwards or something like that. But the consistency in the Ultimates line, I think, like drew a lot of people in too. And yeah, having a whole comic where it's just people talking doesn't sound very interesting, but when you
I
read
love
it,
dialogue.
and it's written by Brian Michael Bendis, and you like, I would consider like his real prime, when he was doing Daredevil at the same time. Like, you could just watch that the whole time, or you read through that the whole time. So I got to give Brian Michael Bendis, or got it signed, that original trade paperback from Bendis, and he signed it, and he was like, how I know you're not BSing me on like growing up with this book? And I was like, how? And he flipped it over and he went, there's still a sticker from Borders, which, like, I think at that
Ah,
time was
yeah.
out of
Oh
out of
God, yeah.
business for like a decade at least, and
Mm-hmm.
that was already a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, so Ultimate Comics, the best, Max. We're gonna have to talk about that and just gush about it. Just amazing stuff from a bunch of creators trying to do weird stuff, which I'm a big fan of. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how many people are out there that can say they actually experienced the death of Spider-Man and then saw Miles Morales like come out, and that wasn't just the backstory of Miles, like that was the story that was happening, which I think has a different kind of perspective on it now. Yeah, that's just me gushing about the Ultimates line. That wasn't even my first comic, but I love the Ultimate stuff. That was my first like real thing that I followed. But my first ever comic was the issue of Incredible Hulk. Oh man, I forget the issue. It's drawn by Todd McFarlane, and it's when Hulk is gray and he fights Wolverine. Who it was during, I think it's like 375 or something like that. And it literally came about from me watching another piece of media, I think like Tim, seeing like, oh, this comic thing is offering something that this other kind of media doesn't, right? He didn't want silly Superman. I was watching the X-Men movies and loving Hugh Jackman in them, and my uncle was like, you don't even know, man, like, and threw this comic at me where Wolverine like shoves his claws through the Hulk, but it was still comics code, so you don't see the claws go out the other end. You just see the shirt kind of poke out,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just showing what comics were capable of, that all these other storytelling devices for these heroes weren't using yet. And that was like showing me all this kind of possibility. And at the same time, my grandfather was showing me the Superman serials and all these like golden age superheroes. And so I think that's where my comics brain kind of comes from. I have kind of what Tim was saying, like this like angry boy, like, oh yeah, I want to see things with chains and blades and stuff. But on the other side, I have my grandfather being like, superheroes inspire people, superheroes help people, and
Mm-hmm.
so the first comic I loved was DC The New Frontier. If you're looking for what I think is the best comic book out there, really inspiring, and it's the Justice League forming in this 50s 60s during the Kennedy era. So Darwin Cook, best of the best. I gave like 5 answers because I love talking about comics, but I want to give Elyse the chance to talk.
That's it. I
Okay.
do think
Yeah.
we may have gotten in the other side to Elise's anthology idea, though. We got little boys going up.
Why are
Catholic
boys
school.
so angry?
Yeah, little boys being sent to Catholic grade schools and growing
White
up
male
angry.
rage. Yeah, I guess. It's an SNL reference.
Yeah.
Yeah, New Frontier is amazing. New Frontier is the best. When I was on my road trip shilling for Band of Bards, I only brought the New Frontier with me as like reference reading material. I just read it over and over again. It's so good. And that, again, formalist things. You don't realize until you've read that book like 50 times that Darwin Cook really only uses a 3-panel style through that whole book. He doesn't really break it up, and it's like incredible how much storytelling and information that guy could pack into an image. We love Darwin, the best. Elyse, what comics did you love? What got you? What pulled you
Well,
in?
I didn't really grow up with them like you guys did. I mean, I had a couple of Scooby-Doo comics when I was a little kid, but
Uh-huh.
I didn't, I was just always reading books.
Right.
I didn't get into comics until actually I had kids. Um, I got this book that was like the Geek Girl's Guide to the Universe or something like that. And it recommended Red Sonja as a really good the Gail Simone ones as a really good graphic novel if you want a tough female protagonist. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I'll check it out. And so I devoured them, just obsessed with Red Sonja by the ones, specifically the ones by Gail Simone and illustrated by Walter Giovanni. Um, so that was my gateway drug. And then I just
Yeah.
I guess I'm weird because I never really I like superheroes. I don't have a problem with superheroes, but I don't know the superhero comics as much. I tend to read more just graphic novels. Monstrous is one of my favorites. Um, Witches. Uh, Saga. Oh my God, Saga. I love
Where's the-
Saga.
I just
What?
got the compendium of Saga, and I'm so excited to dig through it.
Nice.
Witches is also continuing. I don't know if you saw
It
that.
is.
It's finally coming back.
Oh,
Yeah.
finally.
Um, yeah. Shout out.
I finished it and was like, this is so scary. I love it.
Jock
And
is
then
just the best.
there
Yeah.
was nothing.
The absolute best. Oh, that's so awesome. The toughest time, script to story. Ooh.
Oh.
So Max is I'm going to read for the class if you don't mind.
Mhm.
Max says, so I'm not sure how long this goes on for, as long as Tim lets us. But I have been having
Until
the
we
toughest
pass out on
time
our keyboard.
trying to lay out, script a short story for anthologies, and I would love to hear your approaches to putting together a narrative that's only a few pages.
Well, Max, it goes on for at least one more beer.
Yeah. I kind of said it, I think, a little bit back, but when I write shorts, I always decide how many pages I'm writing up front. I know there are some anthologies where it's like it could, like the through the static one or from the static. Sorry, I'm gonna mess it up every time. But it's like it can be.
Wait, is it from or through?
It's from.
Okay.
It can
I'm
be
pretty
what,
sure,
it can be,
but
like,
now I'm questioning myself. Dude,
the
it's your
static one.
anthology.
The static one.
A universal problem among us.
Yeah.
Someone just throw out that one week. Wait, is it that? We all.
Yeah, but the flexible page count ones, I think, are where I get hung up the most, right? Because it is like a blue sky thing. Like, oh, I could write anything. Like this short could be 10 pages, 6 pages, something like that. So deciding on a page count and then, like I kind of mentioned before, writing on the page turns. So my first published work, like I said, was in the BoB, and that was a 4-page script that I wrote. I think it was actually I wrote it as a future shock for heavy metal, but then I wrote a Western. So I was like, this probably doesn't fit. But it's all based on that like last page turn. That's a twist. So kind of like doing it beats like that. Yeah, that's how I approach it, I guess, is a sort of build up with a final page kind of twist. That's usually how I do things. Elyse?
Well, I'm an architect style, a planner instead of a pantser, an architect rather than a gardener. So I outline everything. I get a story idea and I know how many pages it's going to be, and then I outline exactly what's going to be in each panel, and then I draw it all, and then I send it to Danny, and I'm like, this, but good. So, it just, I think it's probably because I spend a lot of time just sitting and imagining what it's going to look like before I even sit down. So I see the whole story in my head and then I write down an outline.
Yeah.
I once wrote a script for, it's actually in Mermaids Monthly. I wrote it in 10 minutes.
What is Mermaids Monthly?
Oh, it's a magazine about mermaids.
Okay.
And
I can dig it.
just like, yeah, like,
Like
and
the
other
scary
related,
mermaids
like,
that kill you, or like the sexy
anything.
mermaids.
Anything.
Because there's kind of like those two distinct tracks, right? Like the actual mythological ones that will like seduce you and like rip your guts out. And
Yeah,
then
I like
the
those
Sailor
better.
Jerry. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're just selkies, kelpies, anything that's like mythological, watery. they
Cool.
do, and they do comics and prose and stuff like that. And I saw that they take comics, and I asked Miranda if she'd want to do it, and she said, "Yeah, and let's do just a 2-pager." Um, funny fix. um, so I kind of pitched the ideas I had to her. I had 10 ideas, and she picked one that she liked best. And then I said, "Okay, give me a couple minutes." I wrote it in 10 minutes. I sent it to her, and she's like, "I want it to be 3 minutes. There are 3 pages now because I'm going to add some pictures in." Like the script didn't have to change, but she was going to add in more imagery. And she's
Mhm.
like, I gotta make this picture bigger. So yeah, so that's why I let her have all the money for that. Because
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. I think that's such a testament though to like a different side of creativity. Oh, I saw my Wi-Fi might be dipping, so sorry if I get grainy. But
Mhm.
like the idea, like you said, you plan it all out. You think out these things, and that's part of the work. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think
Like
there's
I say, I
like
wrote it in 10
yeah,
minutes, but
but you were
like
thinking
I
about
had
it for like
written the
2 years.
stories in my
Yeah,
head a while
right,
ago, and I just
right.
had to get it on. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a real like that's part of I think of people being acknowledged for their creative ability. Uh, it's like part of it, you know. Like I there's a
Hmm.
graphic designer video that was going around on Twitter, and he was like, if I made this logo in 20 minutes, and they gave him a number, and he was like, well, if it took me 2 months, what would you pay me? And he was like, well, if I made the same logo, why am I getting paid differently? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's all relative. Talent is talent, and from you know, I I love the variety and all this super not anti superhero, but the lack of superhero foundation is what a lot of people should be trying for comics is like find those stories that just like speak to whatever you're interested in. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah. Sorry, if I saw my Wi-Fi thing going up and down. So I don't know if anyone got any of that, but
It froze a couple times, but we got it. I
right
did
on.
anyway.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, make
Also,
that
that red,
face before it freezes again. It freezes again. It just looks like you're constipated, man.
so you get struck by like, that's me getting stabbed by Red Sonja. I actually just got that omnibus of the Gail Simone run on it. I haven't cracked it yet, but it's on Comixology Unlimited, so I finally
Oh,
get a
cool.
chance to read it. It's waiting for me.
Yeah,
What a
they're like a
she's
dream
so
team.
yeah. Gail
Her
Simone,
and Walter
I think
Giovanni is
yeah.
my favorites. And I'm such an
I
idiot
I think
because, like,
sorry.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was
You want
apologizing
to know
for
why I'm
interrupting
an
you.
idiot now? um, like that's the graphic novels that got me into comics. I'm obsessed with them, and I became friends with Walter Giovanni on Twitter, and I didn't realize that, like, duh, it's Walter that Walter Giovanni. And then I just kind of realized it one day. I was like, this guy posts a lot of Red Sonja art. And
I
then
was
I double checked the
literally
name
just
on the
like,
cover of my graphic novel, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm friends with him. Kind
oh,
of
that's
on
so
Twitter
awesome.
anyway. I had like this
That's so awesome.
massive fangirl moment.
The power of Twitter. The power of Twitter.
Yeah. So I started picking on him because I'm
There you
a
go.
shithead.
I love those moments though, because like, yeah, some people don't have a super forward facing account sometimes, or you just don't put two and two together. Like today, I was
Yeah,
actually
like
talking.
just
Yeah.
it was really obtuse.
Well, well today I was we're looking at like colors for different projects and stuff, and I was talking to Tim about someone that submitted, and I was like, oh, I love they've worked on this and this, and then Tim said, oh yeah, they just put out this book. I'm not going to say specifics because I don't know what I'm supposed to talk about yet, but
Mhm.
it was a book that just came out that I'm absolutely in love with that I've been talking about, and I didn't realize it was the same colorist that I might
So,
be
holy
able to
shit,
have on
that's
one of my own
them.
projects.
Yeah.
And I was literally like, Yeah, like I like even had that comic as the example of the kind of coloring that I wanted for the project that I'm working on. It's Targets. I'm not working on anything else. So it's Targets. But who is it? Maybe. I don't know. We don't know. Will they like me enough? Um
I
yeah,
hope
we'll
so.
see. But
So that was your
the
fangirl moment.
but that was my Giovanni moment. Um super
For
cool,
today.
super cool. From today. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
I
that
mean,
too often because I don't pay enough attention.
no, it's like a daily thing, right?
You have a daily
Yeah.
fangirl moment?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
At
kidding.
least. At least.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, Gail Simone follows
Whenever
Band of Bards on Twitter
Yeah.
now,
I mean,
right?
Gail follows a lot. Like, to the point where I'm
She
wondering,
doesn't
like, just
follow
how
me.
much she sees some of it.
how
But
special am I?
that
I
was
have
very
to wonder
cool.
what it's like to get on Twitter when you have like
That
that
many?
much engagement.
Yeah.
It just you just like
Yeah.
how do you
But yeah,
even
that was super cool. And I saw that, I was like, what? I think I took a screenshot of that and sent it to Chris.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, like,
Squee!
I know. You gotta
Give
allow
yourself some
yourself to
credit,
enjoy
Tim.
some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bask in it. Bask in it. I think Max, you can always be in the chat if you like. I would like Max on a call if he's up to it sometime. But if you're just gonna be like like throwing stuff through the chat to like keep us on track, I'm all here for it, Max.
Yeah.
Let's see if we get anything. I'm just watching this chat.
Yeah.
If you haven't picked up by now, Snowball Max or Snowbot 11 Max is the writer of Prospects.
It's
It all.
Snowball with the number 1 instead
Oh,
of
you're a
L.
parent too, huh,
Oh, he has
Max?
children. Got you.
Oh,
Yeah.
children.
Children.
Oh, he has children.
Oh,
Oh,
toddler face.
Awesome.
oh gosh.
See,
Burn
that's
'em.
the fun
but-
thing about being like a 37-year-old grandfather is that I get a few good hours of the day and then it goes back to mom.
Hand him off.
Yeah, I took Javi to Pulp 716 today after picking him up from daycare, so that was
You
fun.
change diapers?
Fuck no. No, I'm pretty sure he
Have
craps
you ever
himself.
changed a diaper in your life?
My brother is 11 years younger than me. I changed his diaper
Oh, okay.
once. Javi did pee
thought you
through
were
a
gonna-
diaper yesterday, and I did change that up for him. But
Okay.
if
I
it's
wondered
poop,
if you
I'm
had
not doing-
managed to squeak by thus far in your life without ever
mostly
changing a diaper.
that's one of the like the mediocre guy things that I definitely will hang on to. No diapers, but like I had.
Thousands. Max says
Well,
thousands.
you know,
That's
my
Same here.
stepkids. Yeah, my stepkids are like adults at this point. They were like, what, 8 and 10 when I married Robin. So I skipped the little kid area thinking I was
Mostly
smart,
poop.
and it
And no
was
sleep.
just yeah. And I thought that it was cool to skip that and realize that oh no, I just like skipped over some of like the really fun things of them being little and dove right into like preteen and teen shithead phases.
Eggs.
I'm not. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
not
it was a Beastie Boys moment of put a quarter in your ass because you played yourself. So yeah, but no, I that it's fun having a hobby around. Got him a couple of little toys and stuff there. Picked out some books for himself. So picked up my books.
That's awesome.
Do you let him look at your comics?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he comes in here. We got a bunch of
He's 4, right?
yeah. Let me take these off.
That's
One
how old
second.
my son is.
All the bones.
Action
Oh,
figures.
got
Friend of mine
welcome
like,
to
was
Tim's
getting a
Toys.
bunch- Yeah. No, a friend of mine was getting rid of a bunch of these things from his kids that are like in high school now. So I hopped onto them, and Javi like just absolutely loves them. I knew he would. So he loves Iron Man.
Dual purpose.
Yeah. I know. Like
Decor and-
Robin's like, oh, are those for him or are those for you? I was like, no. Yeah. but we'll keep them in
Why
my
can't it be
office.
both?
So
The thing you gotta love
there's
about those. Yeah, go ahead.
there's a Hulk about this tall and a big Iron Man. They're downstairs on the dinner table still.
Is that where you were
But like,
playing with them?
yeah, he was playing with them, and I just
No,
kind of
you.
set them there, and I forgot to bring them back up. Right, but I came in to my office this morning, and like I could see something on my desk. I'm like, what the hell is that? And I turned the lights on, and he had like come back up yesterday and put the Hulk like right here in front of my desk chair.
The shrine.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I was gonna say the something I admire is the consistent height of the characters. Something that would annoy me as a kid. I'd have all these different sizes. Like, why is my Captain America 50 feet tall, but my Hulk
Oh,
is so small?
Mm.
My Hulk.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, did you put those back on your shrine, Tim?
I just put them on my recliner.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You'll
No,
set it back
I'll
up
throw them in
later.
the corner of the night.
His dynamic diorama with LED lights. Cool.
No, gosh, I
Yep.
I have my warplanes set up. That's about it.
Very cool.
Yeah, those are all of my uncle's models that he made. So that was like my great
Yeah.
inheritance, but it's sentimental value.
Yeah, right on.
Oh, you guys talked about writing, and you didn't ask me.
We're so mean.
Which
I
one?
know, right?
What is that?
Oh, how you write shorts.
Yeah,
you-
I like write
Yes.
boards myself. And that's not so much a short. This is supposed to be a 1,500-year long story. So,
I love it.
I like,
It's like that meme where that guy is like has all the
Like,
crazy stuff behind him.
yeah, no, that's
Love it.
definitely me. And the chalkboard side down there is for Javi. But,
You ever steal his
So-
ideas?
oh yeah, where do you think I got this from?
I'm kidding.
Yeah, he's like, hey, Tim, write this story called Kill the Poor. So Kill the Poor is basically a story about economic genocide, because the last few years in America have constantly made me think, is the government really trying to just kill all the poor people? So it devolved into like, well, what would it take for a society, a government to actually implement killing the poor as like an anti-poverty policy, and then for mass society to accept it and get behind that. So that's
Yeah.
kind of what that is there.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about this, and I
Yeah.
really want to know when you're going to make it. 'Cause
When am I gonna get time to write? So like I just have a notebook to the side here where when things come to me, I make sure to write them down and tab them and stuff, because there's stuff in there for that. I got another book called the Hussar and Javi that I want to make, where Hussars are like medieval Polish cavalry, like horse cavalry,
Oh, okay.
and
okay.
they had big fancy outfits. They would have these big freaking wings attached to the back of them, on the horses. So like as the horses were charging, wind was flowing through the hollow quills of the feathers, and you just had the stampede and this shrill shriek from the wind going through all those charging at you.
Badass.
So it's like kind of visually really cool, but it's like my take on
Yeah.
kind of like a Polish soup Captain America.
Okay.
And his
also,
initials
yeah,
happen to
gotta-
be TS. And he has like a little sidekick named Javi. So I don't know where that all came from, but I thought that would be. I got some stuff written down for that. Gosh, a lot of different things. But back there, I kind of have like a bubble chart on one panel, and I just try to diagram some of the world building part, and then where the squiggly lines are.
Yeah, I was wondering,
Okay.
like, is that like a population chart? What
It's
is that?
it's kind of like a
Graphs.
historiograph.
It's intense.
So it's supposed to be over the span of about 1,500 years, and the line there represents the intensity of conflict over time.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can see where it spikes and goes into lows and then kind of plateaus and then spikes and just to
Hmm.
kind of give me some visual reference of like how bad the conflict has gotten over time and at what point society kind of gets fed up
Hmm.
of the constant class warfare and gets behind just killing off all the poor people.
Gotcha.
And there's like little different markers underneath it that's color coded in terms of like, and this is all allegorical, so it's like set in like an alien galaxy,
Mm.
alien race, so it's not too like convoluted with American
Hmm.
politics. But there's different like American historical references in there, like to put equate one of those historical conflicts to something like Shays Rebellion and the Whiskey Rebellion, just to kind of give me more of like a realistic reference to ground the story in, and to understand not just like the intensity of the conflict and the warfare, but also like where was their society at the time, you know, economically, socially, all that kind of stuff.
Being a history buff probably helps you really build up your world building. I like it.
Yeah,
So are you
it's
envisioning this
hard
as
to
like
not.
a big ass graphic novel or a series or
I don't know. It needs to shake out and flesh out a little bit more.
Mhm.
Would definitely take a very long time.
Good night, funny figs.
Night, funny. Thanks for
Good night.
hopping in, man. Yeah,
Yeah, we made it to
enjoyed it.
the 90-minute mark.
Yeah,
Tim, I hope whatever final form that story goes to, it you include some of that stuff with it because I think the way like even like comics are starting to do like graphic design and charts
yeah,
more and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
Hickman does it, but like the whole X-Men line now is taking on
yeah.
stuff like that,
There's
and I think
that.
it's
You know, there's the way McFarlane would have a little power meter for Spawn, even just like a small little thing like that.
Hmm.
Mhm.
It's neat. I like all that stuff that ties things in. I like maps. Like I said, I'm a
Or
history
like
geek,
extras at
so.
the back of the book
Mm-hmm.
or at the beginning or whatever.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
definitely give you the marker. And, you know, part of the reason behind the crazy graphs too is like I'm super obsessed with Vonnegut and
Hmm.
you know his background as an anthropologist, or at least his education as in anthropology. Like what he did in his master's thesis was to study different folklore and kind of
Hmm.
like map out the shapes of the story. And he basically boiled most folklore down into like a handful of different story shapes.
Interesting.
Yeah, in terms of like, you know, you start off at this point and then good things happen, then bad things happen, and then you get back up and you're good again. But you weren't. But you start out, but you like finish maybe not as high as you had gotten to a point in the book, or you finish at the high point, you know, or,
Hmm.
you know, you start way down here, everything sucks, and you gradually get up and up and up in steps, or life is good. I think he uses Kafka's metamorphosis for this. Life is good, and it kind of gets bad, and then you're a cockroach. It's hilarious, right? But like, it's really cool. There's good YouTube videos about him doing like talks about it and explaining his different charts. And to him, the most interesting story though was the one where you're always back and forth and back and forth, and kind of the seminal example of that is Slaughterhouse Five, where
Hmm.
Billy Pilgrim is unstuck in time, which is really just a euphemism for PTSD, and he's constantly going back and forth in his timeline, and he knows that he's just a transient being that's at all points in time at once and never really at any single point.
Neat.
Yeah, like I love
Very
Vonnegut.
neat.
It's just it's you you can get down so many different rabbit holes with Slaughterhouse Five and some of his other work.
Literary
But
rabbit holes are my
oh my
jam.
god, and also like Robert Heinlein was very famous for the very specific and detailed timelines that he would draw out for some of his works that were like all kind of tied together. And he had
Hmm.
his future histories were the big thing. So like a bunch of the sci-fi was always written way in the future, but as if they were historical books or you
Yeah.
know looking back in time.
Hmm.
So
Neat.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
man.
gives me something that I can like
Mhm.
just anchor to, and you know, it's always a great way to procrastinate off of writing because you need to do more world building.
I must do research.
Yes, let me go read this book.
Do you guys
Uh,
have favorite books? Like books, not comics, like prose? Would it be Slaughterhouse-Five for you then, Tim?
Yeah, definitely one
Yeah.
of them. Heinlein's "Time Enough for Love."
Mhm.
Really dig that. Where are they?
books are the bottom of my bookshelf, so I have to look at them. I have no idea. Um, man, all right. People are gonna hate me, but Grapes of Wrath. I think Grapes of
Really?
Wrath gets a bad rap. I think I so I breathe comics. I learned to read pretty much with comics and stuff. So
Yeah.
books were always obstructive to me or kind of tough. I have really bad ADHD, and so comics were something that like it actually just pulled my focus in the way that books couldn't.
Yeah.
But for
Sounds
some reason, Grapes of Wrath, which is known as one of the biggest slogs in reading, grabbed me the whole way through. And I think it was like just when I started getting obsessed with like structure and storytelling choices and things. And so I think it was something where a lot of people were trash talking the ending, especially and stuff. And so when I read it and I kind of thought about why it would be written in that way, I fell in love with it. So it's, I love the idea of an doing story or a snippet of time. And I think Grapes of Wrath does that better than most stories, where it doesn't feel like anything has been compartmentalized because these are real people going through this, Um,
hmm
I don't think you always have to do that with a story. You can have a good tight ending with a bow and stuff, and people are usually looking for that. But I liked a story that actually did the opposite.
hmm
So that's Grapes of Wrath. Yeah. But I don't read much like that. I read a lot, but not books.
Yeah.
Tim grabbed a stack.
I did.
He's just sitting there waiting with his
I
pile,
know.
like.
Ready?
I know. I love. Right. This is like a little bit of arrogance that will always come through because I'm definitely a book snob. And I got them everywhere. I'm looking up at the shelf up here to make sure I'm not missing. So Slaughter, Time Enough for Love must be. I thought I had all the Heinlein books behind me, but it must be like on the bookshelf downstairs or something.
Most of my
Anyway,
books are packed
yeah,
away right
Time
now, and
Enough for
it's
Love
killing me.
is like a wrap up of one of his most famous characters, who Lazarus Long is like part of his family is termed like long lifers, where they just naturally live for a couple hundred years at a clip, and he is the
That
longest
sounds
living out of
miserable.
all of them. Yeah, like, well, it was goofy in that they were kind of the product of intentional breeding for long life in their family. And
Okay.
there's like this
That's interesting.
long family trust where they hoard some generational wealth and stuff like that, basically to continue
Wow.
the whole little family experiment going on. And it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of weird like that, right? Especially like in today's context. But that was kind of like just to
It's a neat
put
premise.
a little bit of a sci-fi rift on why they live long. But then eventually Lazarus Long lives to the point where like yeah, he was born what in like 1900 or something like that basically. So but he lives long enough into like the 21st century that America devolves into like a theocracy, and the Longs and all the other long lifers and their family hop onto the starship Methuselah, and they blast off for galaxies unknown and whatever. And they go, and hundreds of years later they return to Earth and find it completely different and stuff, and so they bring some of the technologies to them. Basically they've learned how to rejuvenate the human body in perpetuity, where they would go under a medical process where all your organs are not cloned or replaced but just restored. And it never gets like super specific about it, but like you can kind of like summarize it. It's something like a stem cell type of treatment.
Yeah.
So Lazarus Long became like one of his most popular character, probably besides Johnny Rico.
Lazarus
I know the
Long.
guy won 4 Hugo Awards, and anybody ever talks about is Starship Troopers, but and they forget that Starship Troopers was followed by Stranger in a Strange Land. So he went from being accused of being a fascist to being a communist and socialist in like back-to-back novels. And it's like maybe he's just writing a story, guys.
Fiction.
Yeah,
That's a Twitter hat trick when you get called both.
yeah, I know, right? Like
Someone calls
that's
you
to
a
me
fascist.
why I think he's such a great writer is that people like even long before social media, like in the '60s, were accusing him of these things. It's like,
Yeah, stirring up controversy, making
right,
people
and it's
think.
like he's just trying to write a good story, man. But yeah, so anyway, Time Enough for Love is basically Lazarus Long not wanting to be rejuvenated anymore. He's lived for 2,000 years. He wants to just finally die. There's nothing left for him to go and
I wouldn't
like
make it
live.
2,000 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to shoot for 250, but 2,000 is a bit of a stretch. He was basically conned back into being rejuvenated by like great grandson, like insert like 27 greats though, right?
Oh my god.
Yeah,
How weird.
right. And imagine like over 20,
Wait,
2,000 years, you've probably spread some
generations pass.
population quite a bit, right? So he cons him into like the last thing that I want you to do before you get to die is to just recount your life, so that we can record it for records. And it's just a big long string along to get him to like eventually figure out something else he wants to do again and live again, and
Oh.
bring back the will to live to him. But it's cool because you get to hear basically his 2,000 year long life and all the different things he's done, the different like kind of unsettled planets he's gone to and established colonies on, and all this stuff. Really cool, really cool. And there's this like really sweet, tender story in the middle of it about like the greatest love of his life, and she, there was no hope for her to ever live as long as him because she didn't have those long life genes, right? And they were out somewhere where there wasn't this rejuvenation process. So she
Yeah.
was basically trapped into a normal human lifespan. Meanwhile, he was going to continue living on, and he would you'd dye his hair to make it appear as if he was aging along with her and everything. And
Oh.
you get to hear like the death scene of him being in there in the bedroom with her, and he's singing like a song to her that he had always sung to her, like to comfort her and stuff. And she dies as he's singing it, and it's I don't know. I don't like get super wrapped up in a lot of stories like that, or get like the heartstrings don't really work too much because it's pretty much dead in there. But
It is
that part of
not.
it always gets me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
that's
mean,
why I
with a
love
name
that one.
like Lazarus Long, I love that so much.
Yeah, I like alliteration.
Yeah. Heck
Yeah.
yeah, Band of Bards.
Yeah, but so that was that one. But grab Dune off there just to show off the old Dune book.
Doo.
Yeah, I have read it. But I had to get a new Slaughterhouse-5 because my original one is falling apart. That's somewhere down there, but this is a 50th anniversary edition.
Nice.
But this, though, to me, is probably the great American novel.
Okay, what's this?
So this is something that is on every military leader's professional development reading list. So it kind of gets,
Ooh,
It's like the
yeah,
size
it's
of a
tossed
Mitch
around a
novel.
I was
lot.
just going to get
Let's
to
see.
that one.
This one clocks in at just under 1,300 pages. So Anton Mayer, he was a Harvard graduate who enlisted in the Marines during World War II. He was injured on Guam, totally not planned. Yeah, I got to go see Guam when it was really super nice, not when it was like all fucking being bombed out and people blowing up. I can't imagine having to fight on that island. So he was injured there, and then this big long missive that became very popular in military circles. Like generals would always throw it out as being like the definitive book of leadership. And you have Sam Damon, and I can never remember Damon's middle name, but his initials spell out sad. And then you have this other guy, Massengale. Damon and was a guy who like enlisted in the army back in the no, not Spanish American, in the Mexican American War. So just before World War One. And he goes on, and it tracks him from that point up until when he's killed in Vietnam. So, like, it's pretty crazy time slice that's being covered, but it's super
Mm-hmm.
interesting to cover it through those time periods because then you can also kind of like look at American society and politics through all those different time periods.
Yeah.
But it's all done just to kind of looking at these two guys where Damon is your regular average everyday kind of guy. You know, kind of like if you think about Audie Murphy, right? He was just this poor kid in Texas. Damon was like a poor kid in Texas who just went and enlisted and, you know, eventually became a military officer, becomes a general. And then you got this guy, Courtney Massengale, who came from privilege, went to the right schools, met the right people, got all the nice cushy assignments on the staffs and stuff like that. So he was never in danger, but made the right political connections to move up. Damon always had the gritty, nasty jobs. He was always the command. So like, for like army leadership wise, it's always being held up as a great example because it's pretty like stereotypical in the army to say like, you know, go be on line units, go be a commit. You know, you want to do all of the jobs where you're actually leading soldiers, and you know you're putting yourself in the harm's way and doing all that stuff. You don't want to be on the staff. The staff guys are weenies. You don't want to be one of them. So it fit right nicely into that kind of narrative of our actual army. But so it kind of gets dragged a little bit for that in terms of being overinflated. But again, like it's just a fantastic story itself. Like anybody that's just not anybody that hasn't been a military officer would probably read this up and never have that kind of baggage hanging over them to have
Yeah.
like a preconceived notion of the story about and what it should be. But I don't know. I started it when I was at. I picked up the book because I had when I was in Korea. I was at this hail and farewell, super shit faced, and this major came up to me, this little fucking guy, Mateer, who was like even shorter than me, a big round ball guy, and
Does he have
pockmarked.
T-Rex arms? Is that what you're doing?
Kinda, yeah.
Never lose your T-Rex.
Right, angry little Irish guy. So like, I kind of liked him, and my platoon would get attached to his unit basically for in the event of war in Korea.
Yeah.
So we trained with him a lot. One of the other platoons from my company would also get attached there. So like there was two of us platoon leaders who would work with him a lot, and me and the other platoon leader were very different, right? And so he takes me aside one at this hail and farewell, and he's like, "You ever read Once an Eagle?" And you know, he's like, "Well, you know, you're kind of like the character in there, Sam Damon." And the other platoon leader, he's kind of like this guy Massengale. So like, go find it and read it. Okay, right. So I go and I picked it up when I like got to Fort Hood, which was my next assignment after Korea, and started to get into it. And over a year, I probably got a few hundred pages into it. And then I was going over to Iraq and I was in like Kuwait for a couple weeks to acclimate to the weather. I finished like the other 900 pages in that 2 weeks because I was so bored.
Yeah.
But so this is like a well-traveled book too, but no, I would say like the best part of it is after World War II and Sam Damon is at like his hometown. You know, supposed to be at like a victory parade or Memorial Day type of scene, and he's the keynote speaker, and you know everybody's expecting, oh, the great general, he was a division commander over in the Pacific Theater, he should be giving this well fit into a box kind of speech and story to everybody about military service and all that, and he just goes on a big anti-war rant, and after that like that's supposed to kind of like be where his career effectively ends. Like he serves the rest of this book talks about how he kind of did some things in Korea, but it's not in super detail. If it was, it'd probably be closer to 2,000-page book. But like,
Yeah.
it gives you the hint that like, all right, he went, he he saw the truth of what war is and how the American public is lied to about war. And when he dared to speak truth to the public, he immediately went from being a hero to a pariah. And then he kind of like dies in obscurity in a suicide bombing in Vietnam as he's like just sitting out at a cafe. So I just ruined the ending of the book for you guys. But and meanwhile, you also get to
Spoiler
see
alert.
that Courtney Massengale is still somehow serving in the army, right? You're talking about these guys that like were from World War One up, in 1917, all the way up until like I guess like the super early '60s, like the very beginning of Vietnam. So,
Yeah.
but you're still talking about nearly like 50 years. A little bit of a stretch, but like for the literary side of it, it's really cool. And but anyway, Courtney Massengale is also in Vietnam, and he's there as like a high-ranking general again, and again in a nice cushy job and stuff. And he's got like a Vietnamese girl that's like his living kind of servant and sex slave and stuff. And you get to see how like the guy who just embraces all the corruption of American life and society and goes along to do all those like dirty things to skate through life and succeed through connections rather than on merit, ends up being the person who continues to enjoy his life and gain pleasure out of life and success, and the person who does the ethical thing just dies in obscurity and is forgotten because his wife ended up leaving him too. So
Yeesh.
yeah, I like depressing shit.
Good. It gets your pull quote, depressing shit.
Yeah.
For sure. I think it's really interesting though. I mean, it's kind of the opposite of what I was saying with Grapes of Wrath, where it's like, this is just a chunk of time. And then that book is literally like, here's everything. Like, boom, got it. Back
Yeah, it
from
reminds
it,
me of a
you know,
Michener
okay.
novel. You ever
Say
read
that
any
again?
Michener?
A little bit.
Yeah, like where it just chronicles
Yeah.
a span of time.
I was born a baby, a blank slate, thinking I was capable of my own destiny. And then I met my father. That's
What
the
is that?
opening.
What's
That's not
that
from a book. That's the opening of Kicking and Screaming, starring Will Ferrell.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
It's really
I'm like,
good.
did he just pull this out of his ass?
No. It's like, yeah. That's I do Rod Serling style writing. I just do the tape recording thing. What was the worst typo you found in one of your books?
I find typos in every book, ever.
Max, what the hell? You don't want to just continue with depressing shit?
Throwing it. I don't know. One time, the one I can think of is one time I was giving away a sample comic and I accidentally spelled one of my collaborators' last names wrong, and I think I was up. I was up for like, it was literally a one-time thing where I was like, "Oh, let me send this to you," and then I looked at it after typing. I was like, "Oh my gosh, the E should have been an A," and that was it. And I'll never forgive myself. That's it.
Should you get them cookies or something?
Yep.
I'm so sorry. Here's some
Like
offering of food.
literally, I think I was like, even I wasn't sending it to anybody. It wasn't like a pitch thing, but I had to write like a title thing for it, and I literally typed it too fast and just misspelt it. That one hurt. That one hurt. Artists are the best. Yeah, I would love. That's a quick detour thing, but I would love to see some artists on a Band of Bards stream to show us writers what's what.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I would like. This is a tease. I don't know. I haven't asked the whole team yet, but I would like to do a full Targets creative team stream in the future. I think that'd be cool.
I would tune in to watch that.
Desi and D are so fun. I'm just gonna hype them up. Those are the two artists on Targets who are doing, because it's a dual timeline thing. Desi and Dia have been talking about mixing their art styles or their intentions and all that kind of stuff, and they're so fun. And Desi loves what is it, like bad soap operas, and stuff like that, which I think is like just in line with comics.
There's no
X-Men
best
is a
soap
soap
opera.
opera, right? Like they're all soap operas. So I think that'd be fun to talk about. That's my typo story. I felt bad
By the
about
way,
saying messing
how
with the
dare you
creator
say
stuff.
that we don't have an artist on the stream?
I'm sorry, I forgot about that. That's what.
I know.
Desi,
That shit's golden.
I need to put it on the fridge.
Desi, why rude? Oh, is it because I said the soap opera was bad? It's Dynasty. It's really, really good.
Oh gosh,
Dynasty's the
I've
best
heard that one.
TV show of all time. I can cast no stones. I watch Riverdale. I love Riverdale.
Oh
And I
gosh, really?
think, oh yeah, and I think Desi has also made this point before. I'm so glad Desi's in the chat. I didn't know. There is value in all types of media, especially the media that some people deem bad.
Guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's my thing is like I have no guilty pleasures because I'm proud of my Riverdale addiction.
We consider televangelist broadcast media.
Oh man, that might just be straight up bad. That's like morally
Okay,
bad.
there is an exception.
That's it. Okay, so well you can learn from I guess morally bad media, but you have to know it's morally bad, right? Yeah. There's definitely things out there that just do harm, and that's you should maybe look at it in a safe way to be able to do the opposite. Mattis, I've done some rabbit holes. Finding the writers who did Riverdale episodes. Okay, that's my dream. If a Riverdale writer is on this, I have to know who these people are. My favorite thing about Riverdale, all right, it's the Riverdale podcast now. Sorry, everybody. My favorite thing about Riverdale is that you can actually just count out like the 3-month production cycle for episodes and stuff and writing them. And you'll see whatever movie came out 3 months ago, that's now this episode. So like about 3 or so months after The Revenant came out, Archie gets attacked by a bear. There was like Creed came out, so boxing was back in. Archie becomes a boxer, right?
Archie's the worst.
Midsummer was popular, and guess what? In the new season, spoilers, someone gets their heart cut out. This is based on the Archie comics, which is my other
Kalima.
Full on Kalima. Yeah. I don't think I know what Riverdale is. So Riverdale.
Yeah, me neither, really. I'm just laughing.
It's a CW
thing,
show.
Yeah.
So you already know it's good. It's on the CW.
It's for teenagers
with
it's lots of hormones and
and let them know. Yeah, my favorite thing about Riverdale is trying to explain it. Exactly. Riverdale
it just keeps getting weirder.
Takes the Archie characters, okay, and puts them in hyper-violent, hyper-sexualized, hyper-emotional situations. It was if anybody was a fan of the horror Archie comics, so it was Afterlife with Archie, which is like really, really good.
Let's see.
Yeah, like Archie the comic book, yeah. So it was Afterlife with Archie, which was actually a zombie book. And then the writer of that got approached, hey, do you want to maybe, put that on TV? And they kind of took the zombie aspect out of it and then just made it like a messed up like murder mystery. The one thing about it is that supposedly the first season's good. I've never seen the first season. I jumped on.
I only watched a couple episodes of the first season.
Yeah, when the show apparently took a left turn is when I got on the train. And so there's been a whole bunch of stuff. There's a whole season that just like takes Stranger Things and just does a Stranger Things. There's a rocket in it, and I can't. That's all. Wait, I'll say even more. A rocket starring Chad Michael Murray, the model and star of Freaky Friday. He's riding the rocket. That's all I'm gonna say.
Is that a euphemism?
No, it's more of a cult thing than it's a literal thing that they do.
In space.
Yeah.
Wait, you mean like that flat earther guy who tried to ride a rocket to prove that the Earth was flat?
Yeah. Sort of like that with like a Heaven's Gate kind of fun twist to it.
Oh, I love that.
Flat earthers.
And also human trafficking and organ transplants, of course, obviously, because organ transplants and rockets to the moon go hand in hand. Yeah. So that's my Afterlife with Archie is super awesome, and it just like died on the vine because I think this guy's still the showrunner who wrote it. Luke Perry was amazing in it. He played Archie's dad, and it's cool. All the parents
Didn't
actually,
he pass away? I
he
feel like
did, yeah.
Yeah. So
And I think they use it in a weird way. I'm pretty sure Archie's dad gets like assassinated or something. I don't remember.
yeah, I feel like I read a thing online where they filmed a funeral scene for him, and like all the actors were actually grieving their co-star, so that just seemed kind of
Yeah, I think it's
Well,
like it's
tough.
Thank
the
God Luke Perry didn't die in vain.
yeah, it was all for Riverdale, man. No, I mean all of the I think Max is kind of saying all of the parents I think are all like 80s and 90s like movie stars or
Yeah,
like
Molly Ringwald's in it,
Molly
Ooh.
Ringwald is in it. Imagine, yeah.
which was why I looked at it in the first place, like why I watched a few episodes of it.
Yeah, and I think Molly Ringwald kind of bobs in and out. They
Yeah.
do some weird stuff with her character, which is really fun.
Do
But
they
the
just continually make her wear pink dresses?
no, nothing that on the nose, which is so
No?
weird.
Wow.
But
How
the
are you
show
supposed
does
to-
just randomly become a musical sometimes. Like
It
there's
randomly becomes a musical.
I hate
Okay,
the CW.
there are musical episodes where the whole episode they'll sing songs from a musical, but then throughout the rest of the series, they will also just sometimes spring into song. Like just full musical style, like no one's paying attention to it. It's not in context, but
It
it's
would
just
suck
like
to be the
once
one-
an episode, which is pretty awesome. That's a show that has become unhinged and doesn't care. And that's
Doesn't
what I'm
care.
No, and that's what I'm all in on. Like they're like, yeah, sure, we'll have Jughead do
Fuck
magic
it.
mushrooms and chop his own arm off. Yeah.
He chops his own arm off.
Actually, I haven't found out yet. But he definitely hurt his arm. I know that. He was handcuffed and he was on maple mushrooms. There's your catch up. I'm behind. I'm still watching on Netflix now. But
I really feel like I don't even have to watch an episode now.
yeah,
I
you can
know.
every week we can just turn in. I mean, you're not
Do
going
a
to
watch
understand
party
it
and
any
just
more than you do now.
pick it apart.
That's definitely it.
Yeah.
No,
I
doing
don't
it
watch a
also
whole lot
is
of
okay.
TV. I catch
don't
what
either.
I want on streaming, and I participate in the regional religion of Buffalo Bills football.
There you go.
I don't know. I miss out on that. I read more than I ever really watch TV.
Same
Mostly
here, yeah.
because in high school, I constantly had my TV being taken away from me. Because I had
For
such
writing
bad
shit
grades.
about women proposing to men.
Mostly for failing classes. So I just read a lot of Star Wars books. Yeah.
That expand. Are you happy about what is it? Dark Horse getting some of the rights back. To
That's
do
cool.
novels and
It
stuff?
might
Yeah.
go down a little bit of a darker storyline again, I guess. But then Dark Horse is soliciting to be sold themselves, so maybe Marvel will buy them.
Yeah,
Really?
if you want to just have your guts ripped out, look at that initial announcement that they're seeking sale, and then look
Yeah.
at the quote retweets of like people saying like, "Oh yeah, I really hope Netflix buys them," or "I hope Disney scoops them up," and I'm like,
You know what? Absolutely, they're gonna
not
end up being bought by some other streaming service to have like an in-house comics production to try to compete with Disney and Marvel.
yeah, they'll have their Hellboy ongoing series and all that. Kind
Which
of
I
stuff.
mean, good for Dark Horse. I mean, they mostly license a lot of different IPs anyway.
Right?
So I mean, in a lot of ways, they're very much custom made for a streaming service. And
Yeah.
not to
I mean,
go
it's-
down boring contract stuff, but like,
Yeah,
I wonder how
definitely.
much of those licensed IPs for the comics would then potentially carry over to be licensed to a streaming service or not. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I mean, they've given up a lot of those non-owned characters, anyways, too, with Alien and Predator, and
Yeah.
did they had Conan, right? They were the ones who had Conan, or was that Dynamite?
Dynamite.
Regardless.
I think Dynamite,
I think
because Dynamite also has Red
Conan
Sonja.
because they did Red Sonja Conan
Yeah.
Oh, right.
mashups.
Hmm.
Let's see.
So
Which I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love Dark Horse.
What do we got? Killer Queens.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Harry.
I was gonna say, I feel like I know someone who was
Feel
part of
like
it.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Harry Saxon, super
Mm-hmm.
good colorist, and I mean, really cool book too. Bing,
Mm-hmm.
boom,
Mm.
explosions,
Boom.
Does
boom.
Dark Horse have
That's the
that sort
kind
of
of
IP?
dialogue I go for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
I get.
is Dark Horse and the Magnola verse separate, or would anything with Dark Horse
Why are
immediately
you
bring in
asking me?
Hellboy and BP? I don't know. It's an open question. Dark
Mm.
Horse has Conan and Dynamite had Red Sonja. Oh, so they literally
Oh.
Oh,
did a team up book. Cool.
I see.
Cool, cool, cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I guess that's maybe part of their this has maybe been a longer term strategy that they've kind of shed this stuff they don't
Yeah, I
own so
mean,
they can become something to be owned.
yeah, decision like that certainly isn't. That's months in the making. You know, you don't just wake up one day and be like, you know what, I'm gonna sell.
Right.
Yeah.
Just press the button. Press the
Yeah.
button.
Yeah,
Well,
if you've gotten to the point where you're talking to banks about helping to facilitate a sale, like it's very similar to like private company wanting to go public and offer an IPO.
Mm-hmm.
right.
How finance geek in the house.
Is
Every now and then I flex that stupid degree,
that your degree, a finance degree?
business administration.
Business administration.
Yeah,
Right on, right on. The
Literature.
yeah. Well, I mean, the history degree didn't do me any good, so I had to go get a second degree.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My media studies degree just weeps. Yeah.
Well,
It's
I'll
just
tell
I let
you,
it play around, you know.
people with MBAs are what ruins this world. So I will always say that about the degree.
Gotcha.
It's one of those things where like you learn just enough to be dangerous, and if you don't have, if you don't have enough grounding, the hubris will take over, and you think you can do everything.
Mm.
And then you look at the world as like just a series of mini max problems where you're trying to minimize your inputs and maximize your outputs,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then you have senators. So,
Yep. The
hey, look, we're talking about depressing shit again.
Get us back on track, Max.
I know. This is why
Taxes.
this is why Ryan is hosting every other week and not me all the time, because I will go down a pit of despair like fucking Artex is being sucked up in the swamp again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Did I just go over everyone's head with that?
yeah, it did.
Blink, blink.
What the fuck?
We're at the
Never
about-
ending story?
Oh, wait. Okay.
Oh.
Oh, my God.
Or did
Oh
I
my
use
God.
the wrong name for the horse? Because I fucking suck with remembering names. I will tell you that. Like, who are you? No, it's a good thing our little names stay in our windows, because I would totally forget your names when put on the spot.
Absolutely.
That's just
Dan got it.
concussions.
We're at just over the 2 hour mark. How
Yeah.
much longer do you want to go?
I think everybody's probably bored. No.
Yeah,
Anybody?
like Dog Dragon.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Falcor or something like that.
Falcor.
Something like that. The Nothing
Falcor
was
was
terrifying.
Falcor was the
I
luck
was so
dragon.
scared of them.
The horse though, wasn't it like
Yeah,
Artex?
yeah.
Artex?
Well, no, someone, Desi mentioned this.
Yeah.
Is it the same film with the dragon? So I think.
Yeah. Yep, the luck dragon.
Mhm.
And the kid runs
Read
away
the
and
book.
hides to read that big long book during the storm instead of going to school because his bullies are chasing him.
Yeah.
Which is why probably a lot of us like that story.
Yeah.
Right?
Did you ever read the book?
They made a book of that movie?
It was a book before it was a movie.
No, I mean, see, this is why I throw out these to make sure everybody knows I read big long books. But no, I like.
I just wondered. I'm not like.
No, I've probably read like half the books that are on my shelf. I'm totally more of a collector than a reader because I just never. I buy so many goddamn books and I never get to them because
They're like
adults.
they're like a binky. They
Right.
make you comfy.
You know, I don't have a whole lot of like really amazing possessions in the world, but I got a lot of books. So just bury me in those.
That's the best though. Like we're
But no, I mean, we got like a super gigantic audience.
Poppin'.
Not to belittle it, I do appreciate everybody who's popped in to watch and listen.
Yeah.
But
Bye,
if
Dan.
anybody's got, see you, Dan. If anybody's got questions, throw them out. Otherwise, we'll probably wrap this up. Unless any,
Cool.
because about the only other cool thing I got is the stack of comics that I picked up today. But
Ooh.
big stack.
Let's get a quick flip. What'd you grab?
You really want?
Quick show and
Okay.
tell.
Row.
Start with the back.
Oh
Start with the
shit!
back.
I fucked it all up.
Start with the back.
Oh man! Again, you put it. I'm not a smart man. Again, going on the
Age of
kick with
Taurus.
Heinlein. What Heinlein really got
John
him
Carter?
into sci-fi and stuff was the old pulp, like John Carter and Deja Taurus.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Dynamite, call me up. I have a sick John Carter pitch.
Yeah, like when they started this
That's
new
true.
one here, I wanted to jump in on that. I don't like jumping into a series when there's like midway through it, the story.
Yeah.
So hopped on that. It's been pretty cool, right? Saw Killer Queens.
Right on.
Been enjoying that. This isn't the way. You know, I really enjoyed the new like X-Men and the new Way of X, but they don't really put the title on super clear. There's just this, yeah. Sometimes it's
Good
I
X.
forget which one I'm reading until I'm like halfway in. That looks
A
like
cool
the X-Men
approach.
one because
That's
Laura on the
mainline
cover.
X-Men.
Yeah, there's Laura and there's Cyclops with his heat waves.
Wolverine and
I-
hot, yeah,
yes.
and hot eyes.
I know. I gotta say,
Fair.
this Iron Man arc started out, and I didn't know if I really wanted to stick with it. It was super trippy and kind of weird, but it's turned out to be really freaking cool. And now you have Cosmic Iron Man because he's jumped into the Power Cosmic out on Tattoo, which is really cool. And I just ruined it for everybody. Fuck.
Is Kafu still drawing that comic?
Yep.
Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And then I haven't seen it yet, but it was supposed to be this month, a new Iron Man and Captain America. And I think Cafu was drawing it too because it was the same kind of like metallic finish on all of it.
Yeah, it was supposed to
Very pretty.
be. I think that might have supposed to come out this week. It might have been a printer thing.
Paper Chores.
Cool.
Yeah. I have every Spawn title on my pull list because
Right on.
Angry Kid, right? Late 90s when they had the HBO animated series for Spawn. I go back and I rewatch that like every year or so. It's so good. Department of Truth. So
Yeah.
fucking good. Love it.
Freaking awesome.
I can't. It's mind-boggling. What kind of like planning and outlining I would like how we had that discussion earlier. I'd love to know what Tynan does to structure his stories and plot them out.
Yeah. Especially how he rotates artists is like so good. You know, I think indie books are getting more comfortable with that, having more than one artist on it, but they do it in the right way. So that's really awesome.
No, it's cool. Like, I mean, and with Desi and D, like, you get the right combination of artists working in tandem like that, or flip flopping it in and out. It adds so much more to the book and to the story and to like the product in the person's hand.
Yep. Only when you get good artists like Desi and D.
All right.
That was a grumble.
It's been a long freaking week. I can't form words anymore.
Desi, he hates you.
Stop.
Did you hear that?
That was not my I hate you grumble. All right.
What does that sound like though?
I'll think about it. Anyway,
I'll keep
Another-
talking until you do.
right, 90s kid, born in 84. I have to absolutely love all these Transformers stories coming out. So amazing. I love them. And again, right, I'm a sucker for the colorists. Like, colors are what will get me all the time. And Jesus Christ, look at this stuff. I don't know. I'll just stare at these pages for hours, and this one floppy will take me like 45 minutes to read. But I mean, look at that cover. Holy Christ.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. My
Mhm.
heart goes out to every single artist that's ever had to draw Transformers because it's like
Oh
they
God.
say they hate drawing, artists
Yeah,
hate drawing vehicles and crowd scenes, and it's literally walking
that's all it is.
vehicles.
Yeah.
Oh
I
man,
can imagine. You
no.
have to like
The
figure out every
geometry.
little nut and bolt and cog and stuff.
Yeah.
Main Transformers story, which has been
Right
really
on.
cool. Like, Christ, this is 37 issues now, so that's been going for like over 3 years.
That's great.
Yeah, that I want to say when I started my pool at Pulp 716, I had been after I moved up here near Buffalo a few years back, and so like this is one of the very first comics that I put on my pool list. That and then Spawn, because it started coming out regularly again just a few years ago. So
Gotcha.
again, the Transformers, I think the strength of that series, again, the colors, like, it's such a great team that's been putting together. Ruckley, he's built out his story and mythology of the Transformers universe in such a cool way that like little 5-year-old Tim is like opens these up in his back watching Saturday morning cartoons, and I love it.
That's so awesome. Desi says that she hates drawing forks the most. I want to promise right here that Targets exists in a universe where people only eat soup. So it's spoons forever, Desi. Don't worry about it.
It's like Jello Biafra said,
Yeah,
soup is good
everyone's on a
food.
liquid diet in
Yeah.
Targets.
Cool.
No bikes either. Yeah.
No?
What do you got next?
Hands always look to me to be like one of the hardest things to draw.
I have
They
a hard
always
time
get
with
like out of
hands.
proportion and
Like, I'm
stuff.
not
But
an
like
artist, but
if you don't draw them huge, you can't get the detail in them.
Mm-hmm.
With the Thor, I just finished a compendium of Jason Aaron's run when he had like the God Butcher and all that.
The best.
Oh, so good, and I love Jason Aaron's, and Case has done a really good job with picking it up from there. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's a tall order to live up to, and he's taking it off in different directions that have also been really cool, and bringing up the way he dealt with like oh man, Donald Don,
Oh, Donald Blake.
Donald Blake.
Yeah, that
Thanks.
was an awesome arc.
Yeah, it was
But
really
his
cool to
alter
bring
ego,
up a really mundane character, basically, who had just been, in a lot of ways, kind of like a filler character, and give him a lot more depth. So that's cool.
Yeah.
My favorite, angry 5'4" man.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Don't know why I identify with that one. Had to pick up this copy of White Ash, right? The cover from. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, had to get that. Eat the Rich. I don't know if anybody else has been diving in it, but this is fucked up in
Heard
so
of
many
it.
great ways. It's basically about an average girl who fell in love with a super rich kid who doesn't like really love high society, but he's taking her back to meet the parents and all of that during a summer trip, and they're having like retirement parties for all of their like house servants at this really rich, super exclusive community. And at the end of the retirement, you see like the look on the servants' faces as they're retiring and they're being toasted, and they're basically being roasted, really. And they just look sad and so beat down during the whole party. And you're like, kind of not really understanding why. And then you see at the very end of the first issue that the butler or whoever it was they're having the retirement party for is chased down on the beach, butchered up, and then they eat them. Yeah, so the rich people are
Nom, nom, nom,
cannibals
nom,
and they
nom.
eat their servants.
Blech.
But
Not nice.
Cool.
Cool.
yeah, really cool.
Cool as hell. Very
Back to
cool.
the pressing shit. Again, hey, look, another Spawn. The King Spawn things were pretty cool too. I one of the best things I like about Spawn, I think, is the strength of using narration and more dialogue into the large panels than you would typically be told to do with maybe some other places, right? Keep the dialogue short, keep the narration short, adhere to like the standard number of like characters and words per thought bubble. And
24, you're dead.
right, and McFarlane just writes paragraphs in these things, and they find a way to just artistically put them into every panel and large page, and I love that. Like, as absolutely putting the storytelling first and matching up gorgeous artwork to it. Oh, Max. Yeah, like I said, I didn't have a local comic shop growing up, so I'm not really much of a comics collector as much of a comics reader, but like what I have started to hold on to has only really been in the last few years. But that's the importance of having the local comic shop.
Yeah.
Matt doesn't think cannibals are cool. Stories about cannibals are cool though.
Usually,
Yeah.
You ever see Green Inferno? Not cool. Not cool, man.
Yeah, like I don't want to be hanging out with cannibals, but I certainly would like to read that comic because it's
There.
really
Haven't met the right one yet. Yeah.
that's all. You know what? That's always a thing. That's the rub. Has anybody noticed that ever since Loki, Kang has been showing up in a lot more comics?
Huh.
Yeah, well, it's funny how that happens with the Disney Plus series, but very cool. Always buy anything by Steph Phillips.
Cool.
Super sweet person. I'm not sure if she's back down in Tampa or if she's down there for a bit, but like she was living up here in Buffalo, teaching at the University of Buffalo while she finished up her PhD. Dr. Steph Phillips, who killed comics. But it's cool because I got to meet her a couple of times at Pulp 716. She's such a, so cool. Very laid back, fun to talk to. And it was neat to be able to say, like, at least for a little while, she was here in Buffalo. And it was like as she was really kind of just hitting that spot in her career where all of a sudden everything took off. So, yeah.
Awesome art on that Harley Quinn book too. I don't know if
it's so cool.
Rossimo is still drawing it, but
yeah,
the covers are still fantastic.
And
also, cool.
How about the fact that like she got to make up a whole brand new character, keep like in the Bat universe? Like, how cool is that?
That's gold.
Last couple. Another Transformers comic.
More Transformers.
Yes. You can never have enough. And then of course, I bought Commander Rao when it was first out after the Kickstarter, but I couldn't help but go and support it again. And oh god, I made I paid a commission to Fel to draw Commander Rao stabbing me.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I absolutely love it. My wife hates it.
So great.
I was like, "What? This is funny." It's like I gave like a few like sample pictures of me to Fel, and like a couple of them were like in my dress blues, and I was so happy that she used like that. And you can just like, you only know it's me because of like it's from the back side, which is the best side, because of the bald head and the dump truck butt. So like, I was having a sword rammed through me. I'm like, I love it. And
There you go.
Robin's like, I don't like it. Like, what? It's just a comic. So what? I'm being stabbed, but it's a comic.
Yeah, surprisingly, was not one of the variant covers for the Scout release of Commander Rao, but I heard it was
Didn't
close.
meet the cut. Yeah.
It was very, very close. It was
But
a
I think that was
dialogue cover where you're talking and thanking Rao for stabbing you.
Yeah. I think that was more of like a printer issue than an editorial decision.
It happens. It happens. Yeah, but anyone watching, go pick up Commander Rao
Hell
from
yeah.
Scout Comics. Is this one? But it was a Kickstarter darling, and I think Commander Rao was how I fell into a lot of my mutual comic friends on Twitter and stuff. So shout out to Fellhound and her amazing comic book. It's so
Absolutely.
good.
Yes.
And
She was
Letter
a-
Quids, who like kills it on the letters. I've worked with Justin a couple times, and like the Commander Rao lettering is just like
Oh, so good.
On point.
Sucks you in. Yeah. It proves like with a silver bullet how important lettering is to the art of comic.
Mhm.
You know, it's perfectly integrated in Commander Rao, where it's, you know, the sort of like tech things that Rao is getting, the sort of notifications and stuff are drawn in that sort of style.
Yeah.
You know, I think it does
Yeah.
it better than most Iron Man comics. Give
Yeah.
Squids Iron Man. That's our new campaign. Let Squids do Iron Man. Desi said his style is so energetic. Oh, I think that's Riley Rossimo who did Harley Quinn, and I totally agree. He did a wild comic with, oh man, I think it's Tim Seeley. I forget the writer actually, but it's called Deathbed, and it was a Vertigo book about this world traveler who's dying and he wants to do all these things before he dies. And the point of the story is that it's just like a trip, like it's nuts. And Riley drew that one, and it's really, really good. That's Deathbed. If you just want wild, crazy comics, you know. Cool. Well,
Is it
thanks for
depressing?
showing us your stack, Tim.
I'll always show
Please.
off the stack. Huh?
I guess I could. No, I don't. I have so many comics just on my bed. But
Oh, yeah. I mean that was today, right? Like
that was today.
I pulled back in my chair so I could look under my desk as if everybody else sees what I see. But
Is
they're
it
all
is
over.
it just comics holding up your desk?
It kind of looks that way.
That's
But-
so awesome.
Yeah. No, this is always cool. Can always do a little bit of segment so I can show off my comics because that's so freaking cool, and I'm sure that's what people want.
Yeah, I think people want to definitely talk about comics. You know, we all like comics here. I think.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, six stack man. I love that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're in the middle of some really bad COVID outbreaks around here, so I haven't made a trip up to the shop for a few weeks. And
fair.
but today was nice. Went up there with Javi, and we were the only ones in the store, aside from the manager Elyse, who is super awesome, like all the other staff at Pulp 716. But absolutely one of the stupidly lucky around here that we have such a fantastic local comic shop right here. And honestly, there's a whole bunch through Buffalo. It's crazy that there are so many in our tiny little city.
That's awesome.
But again, like that's us always kind of inward looking around here and thinking that we're small and we're nothing, and like everything outside is what's really good. But there's some awesome things in Buffalo.
Right on. And hey, Band of Bards is way bigger, right? You reminded me of the comic book shop thing. So last month or so, I drove west, and Tim and Chris sent me a whole bunch of Band of Bards stuff. So if you're watching right now, these are all the comic shops that you can grab Band of Bards stuff now. It's swag. So you can get it at Comics Bug in Culver City, California, Graham Crackers Comics in Plainfield, Metropolis Comics in California, Heidi Ho Comics in California, Joffrey's Comics in California, Amazing Comics and Cards in California, The Comics Cellar in California, Dream World Comics in California, Pulp Fiction in Long Beach, California, Golden Apple Comics, the big one in California, and the Mutiny Information Cafe in Denver, Colorado. So those are, I think, a dozen or so things. Brian actually moonlights as a traveling.
Yeah, I could listen to you reading off just random names and words all day long.
Literally, it was just gonna be random. I actually just made up all of those.
See,
as Max pointed out, most of them are in California because I wasn't stopping to sell comics in Utah. I just didn't. I was lots of driving in between. But if you're a comic book shop and you're watching right now, Tim will send you stuff. I'm offering for him, right?
What?
Yes.
Yes.
Bookmarks.
We also we talked about how that like bookmark also serves as our business card. Like on one side it's the bookmark, back side it's the business card for Chris and myself, because I personally hate things that serve only one function like that. So we actually will be customizing these things. Show the back, Ryan. We'll be changing that up a little bit, where that little small bit of font is getting flipped in orientation to go. Yeah, that's not helping right now. Okay. We'll flip it in orientation so that can be a little bit easier to read. But there will also be some space for an individual bard's information. So we'll be able to throw, you know, Ryan goes to a con. We'll be able to make a bunch of those up. Ryan's
Nice.
info on it along with ours. When Elyse
Very nice.
is going and doing stuff, we'll have those up with Elise's info on the backside. So little thing there, just for the
Oops,
bards.
my thumbs up was off camera. Like, thumbs up, but
That's
wait,
okay.
cool.
It's like me looking under my desk as if everybody else knows what I'm doing. Yeah. So we'll have those. Max, Chris, and I were chatting yesterday about a road trip to Pittsburgh. So more
Road
to
trip.
discuss about that, I guess. But we'll be have some ideas about once the deliveries come in for prospects. We need you to sign some books and stuff for the Kickstarter fulfillment. It probably just makes a lot more sense for Chris and I to drive down for a weekend. Oh fuck yeah, I love Iron City beers. And some jumbo. I didn't eat dinner, and now I'm thinking about fried bologna. Oh, there's a
Fried
restaurant down the
bologna.
yeah, jumbo fried bologna. I just remember there's a 24-hour restaurant down the street that has fried bologna.
Cannon.
You know, Desi, even if there was a t-shirt cannon, you couldn't hurt people with it because the Band of Bards shirts are so comfortable and so soft. Get them at the Threadless store.
Sake.
It's available in heather gray and a multitude of colors.
See, it's good that Ryan's here because I just totally went off track there because as I told Chris earlier today, I'm like Chewbacca and I think with my stomach all the time. And now all I can think about is that big sandwich.
Well,
speaking of
how about you go? You wanna call it? You wanna get that? Big
I think so.
sandwich?
But, speaking
Go
of
eat
the
something.
shirts, if you want one, you can buy them at that link there, our Threadless
Drop
shop.
it. Drop
Yeah.
that link.
Last lucid thought of the night with the Threadless shop.
I didn't know fried bologna was a thing either.
What? So anyway, with the Threadless shop,
News.
one of the nice things is that we can earmark every different design so that a portion of the sales does go to like a different advocacy group such as the ACLU or the Trevor Project. So check it out. They support a great cause and they help us make comics.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're and me and Elyse, we're making those comics and they'll be out eventually. So buy them or
That's a true
support.
statement.
Yeah, that's a true statement. Like I said, I hope to. I'm going to be gone next week because I'll be at C2E2 again if anybody's there. But I'll be back on a stream the week after, hopefully with some Targets people. Yeah, go Desi, go.
Yeah.
Bard's always doing the most. We hope. Yeah, but thank y'all.
About
I
to
had
be
a great
doing the
time.
most sleeping.
Yeah,
It's been a week.
I'm sorry, what? I'm really tired.
I think
Yeah.
we hit the. We just got 3 minutes over 2.5 hours. I think that was our max.
That's the point where I just start doing this.
2.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you
Yep.
get through,
So
like,
I think we hit that sweet spot right around 2 hours,
yeah.
and then
This
we just
proves-
rambled.
This proves that the Transformers movie should have been 90 minutes and not 2.5 hours. 'Cause
Well,
if
90
this was
minutes
too
of
much
actual
stimulation-
story, or just 90 minutes of explosion.
No, it's just 90 minutes. 90. There's a last thing I'll leave. There's a thing I literally studied in college where it's like you can overwhelm somebody's brain with visuals where like they stop absorbing the material you want out of it. So like Transformers, the reason why everyone's so tired at the end of those movies is that like by the climax, your brain can't handle any more Transformers, and then they keep going. Just a
There's
fun
no
little-
such thing as
fun
too much
fact.
Transformers, dude.
Not too many Transformers comics, but a 2 hour 40-minute.
And when it's a Michael Bay one, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
All right.
yeah. Okay. I will end the broadcast. I don't think
Sweet.
that it immediately drops the two of us, so I'll say goodnight to the two of you guys after I end the broadcast. Don't just
All right.
immediately run, please.
Well,
But thank you for everyone who showed up, who dropped a little message, everybody who will eventually pop on and watch this as recording. Yay.
so awesome.
Yeah, remember,
Yay.
every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, we'll be doing this, and we'll probably get more structured as time goes on. But free for all tonight.
You too, Max.
Hey, Max, thanks for coming. Good to chat with Yins.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all. Elyse,
that?
I'm so excited for this project. Thank you for giving
Yeah.
us the scoop tonight. This is, everyone check Newsarama, check Bleeding Cool comic book resources tomorrow, because Elyse dropped some real spoilers on the stream tonight. Get ready.
Yeah, I'll be chopping those up into little segments and posting them up
Awesome.
on the Twitters.
Enjoy this table reading of Days of Our Lives. Desi, we need to talk about the Days of Our Lives Christmas special that they announced literally 30 days before they said it's going to air, which means they decided a month before that they're just going to have a Christmas special. Oh, it's beautiful. I love soap operas. All right.
Well, as the world turns, so does this broadcast end. Night, everybody.
What?
Good night. That was great. We'll be right